there's a big rivalry there anyway in the men's 4. And I think after the 22 season, they suddenly stopped looking at us as like, who are these little joker kids that have come to try and beat their easy Olympic event they're going to win again, to suddenly be like, okay, these guys are very good. We've got to get back on it. So they bring back Alex Hill, who's their like sort of talisman. And I remember him saying on the start line, it's good to be back. I don't know whether it was in like it's really good to be back in the men's 4 with you guys racing on a start line again, because he'd spent the season before in the pair, or whether it's like, good to be back. This is a challenge. We're Olympic champions. You guys are going to get smoked. And I remember all of us were just like, all right then, come on then, let's have it go.
Hey, what is up? Welcome to episode 40 of Last Stroke Counts. Today's guest is a double world and European champion. Please welcome Matt Aldridge to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming. This is, we were sort of laughing before we've run out of rowers that I rode with. We're now into the rowers that I didn't row.
We've had races against each other though.
Yeah, when
like once in... Sorry, I took a really bad time to have a drink.
Never.
I think it was like summer of 2015. You turned back up at Leander for like a year. I remember turning, I think it was Matt or Marlowe, and we're having our little feud with Leander. And all of a sudden, this massive bearded tattooed guy turned up. We were like, who the fuck is this guy?
I remember, for quite a long time. Yeah, around 2015, 2016, I'd be talking to someone. They'd be like, oh, you're the Leander guy with the tattoos.
Yeah.
I was like,
I haven't
only one.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So yeah, we haven't raced each other like once or twice.
That's good. Yeah, no, there's some overlap for sure. Obviously, there always is. But no, really interesting. Obviously, you've done some pretty special stuff in the last couple of years. And we'll get into.
Yeah, as we read per your Wikipedia page.
yeah, go and have a look at that. It's totally factual.
100% accurate. Not been edited at all.
We'll go and edit it again now. He's won gold at every Olympics since 1970.
Steve Griffin.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, lots to talk about, and be interesting to have another perspective on Brookes. But lots of Henley wins. We'll get into that as well. Kind of interesting. Like we'll normally sort of say, we speak to a lot of people at the end of their career. You're sort of still in the midst of it, so it's sort of interesting.
Fingers crossed.
There's no hope about that. But as we always start, generally, is how you got into rowing in the first place.
Yeah, so got into it through my dad, who is a coach down at Christchurch Rowing Club down on the South Coast. Basically, since I was sort of like 9 or 10, I'd just sit on the launch with him and like go out and do, kid stuff on the launch where he coaches all the juniors. I just sort of naturally progressed as I got a bit older and was like, all right, I'm going to have a go at this. So I started actually rowing myself when I was probably sort of 11, 12. So it's going to be 2007-ish, 2008.
That's quite young, 11 or 12.
Yeah. So there wasn't much of like a junior sort of like J sort of 12 program. It was kind of like, so you probably had the same thing as well. You're just a big kid, like bigger than most of the people. So it's sort of like, I just turned up with my dad and joined in with like the really low, like learn to row junior stuff, and kind of just moved from then. I was like quite a sporty kid as well, because I struggled sort of to concentrate in school. And like, I never like diagnosed, but I feel like mild sort of like ADHD, as I feel probably a lot of high-level athletes probably have.
Yeah, like self-diagnosed with professional sport.
Yeah, exactly. ADHD, sort of like slight anger problems as a kid. So I used sport as a way to like calm myself down. So from an early age, I was doing rugby, athletics, and rowing. So when I started my sort of rugby group, I was sort of around like 13 or so, I had a couple of friends who I went to school with as well, and my dad sort of suggested like a group of us start rowing like at the same time. I'd already done a little bit before, but they came down and we sort of learned together and sort of joined in like the junior program, and they kind of filtered out throughout the year. But and then I just carried on through there.
Did you get coached by your dad?
I did get coached by my dad. Yeah.
Did that work? Was that all right?
It did work. It's like my dad is like he's quite a hard man to please sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially as I started getting better, as I started getting a bit older. But as a junior, it was fine, and I was with him for a bit, and then I moved to one of the other junior coaches as I got a bit better, a bit older. But it was fine working with him because I didn't see anything different about it or weird, because he was always been a coach, so in my eyes he's always really good. So I was like, just go and do this. But yeah, so I was rowing, playing rugby, doing athletics, and doing all that stuff just to give me a bit of energy and like get rid of it. And no, it was good. I think I basically stayed rowing, obviously, all the way through like my junior career. And at one stage or another, everything started to drop off as I took rowing a bit more seriously. So rugby was the first one to go, and I hit about 16, and people started getting bigger, and it started hurting more. And I was like, you know what? I think my shoulders and rib cage can take a break from that. So that was the first one to go. But I carried on athletics. So I was doing high jump at the time, and obviously just being a tall, skinny kid really helps. I was quite good at high jump actually. So that was when I got to about 17, I had about 2 routes to go down. I had the rowing or the athletics, and I decided that I was also starting to get a bit too small for high jump. So I did sort of like some national championship stuff, came like third for like some age group things, and did my first appearance on TV was on Sky Sports 3.
Oh, wicked.
The English Schools Championships in Birmingham. This was very fun.
Yeah. I also gave up rugby when I was 15, and it's one of the things I really loved, but I gave up before rowing, and I always said, I'm going to go back to it when I finish rowing.
Yeah.
So I did. I went and played in Reading for 2 seasons. I broke my nose 3 times and shattered my collarbone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I was like, I think I'm done with
That's
rugby.
the thing. Yeah, I thought about going back when I stopped, or like even just having a bit of fun. But you look at
It's different, isn't it?
yeah, it's a completely different level, because I knew I'd take it really seriously and try and play really properly. But then you go like club level, and you've got like the big 30-year-old men who are just there just to punch people in the face.
Yeah. We had a guy, 6'9", 20 stone, Polish international came to do it. It was just like,
how are you allowed?
what am I supposed to do when he runs at me?
This isn't 5-a-side on a weekend, this isn't what you want to do.
It's bad enough. Like my last proper game for like Bournemouth, who I was playing for, was like a Dorset and Wiltshire Cup final, and on the 2 teams there was 3 England under 16s. So on my team there was a guy called Rich, who was the winger. So we just give it to him and let him run past everyone. That was our tactic. And then they had the England number 6 and number 8. So their tactic was just stuff it down the middle and run. It so happened that it was absolutely just shucking it down, wind, rain, pitch was just written off. So they basically just gave it to their big man every time and just straight down the middle. And yeah, they battered us a little bit. But no, ever since then I was like, no, that's going to be me. I'm going to focus on rowing, because at that point I was starting to get noticed a bit more by like the junior stuff. And as I said, as I was quite a big kid, I had good ergos quite early on. So I was being noticed more for the ergos than maybe the water stuff, because at that point as well, when I was in sort of J16, 17, 18, I'd won Brit Champs in the single. But then
Whoa, that's pretty big.
that's pretty good. But then it's J16 Brit Champs, so all the good people have already gone to GB France. So it's kind of one of those like catch-22 ones. So I remember doing the GB France trials, and there being like Ollie Knight was there, and he was the big junior at the time. And he was the one to beat. And I was like, oh, this is so good. I got within like 30 seconds of you, Ollie. That was so good for me. I was like, oh, actually, looking back now, I was like, oh, that's actually miles away. But back at the time, I was like, this is amazing. I'm only 30 seconds behind Ollie, and he's so good.
Yeah, but for juniors, that's probably like
Just little wins, isn't it? Yeah.
exactly for 2 minutes he just zoned out in the race, and like in juniors it's not necessarily like 30 seconds. Like if you all like did that race 10 times, probably would have been like within 5 seconds. Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. But that was the big one I found. It was just like I was okay in the single, but I wasn't really getting much further. So I was starting to draw the attention through the ergos. So I think it was must have been 2013, my sort of first year as like a proper junior. So I was a 2-year junior. And I did the early ID trials. I think with the Rake 24 ergo, I came maybe 12th overall out of everyone. So I set off really up by the front. And I think I did this single and I came 40th or 50th or something. And because obviously my dad took me up because he was my sort of coach at the time. And the drive from Bournemouth to Boston is like 3.5 hours. And I remember the first like hour and a half, it's just silent as we were just like, I'm really pissed off, because he was like, I'm pissed off because you're so much better than that. And I was pissed off because like, that was shit. I'm so much better than that. So basically after that, I got invited to like one of the sort of like training days pre-Christmas, which the juniors have actually just done because Sophia went and helped coach some of the Marlow lot there. So they would have got better than I did. But they They invited me to one of the training days. I jumped in, didn't really do much. And basically that was kind of it as far as like the J17 year went. I was still kind of aiming towards coupe, but I never got invited to do anything else. So I carried on in my single. I then did home countries for Wales. Yes, Wales.
Oh,
So good.
Right, you're now on my list.
There you go. One of the good ones.
When you finish your GB rowing,
I can come back and do Wales. That's the thing. So we did it in 2013 in Nottingham. So I did the single because I could, and because that was the only thing I did. And we're on our residential camp in Monmouth, and obviously Auntie Sue was there, treating us to a great time, telling us how it all is. She's brilliant. I love it. Any Welsh people will know.
Are you on that Facebook group? Like she's set up like a Welsh alumni rowers.
I think I might.
Very active.
Yeah, she's just love it. So both of our sons, Steve and Tom, were in it at the same time. So yeah, she was heavily invested in it. It was great. But we went up, and obviously the junior Welsh team now is probably a bit bigger than it was back then, and the same in senior men and senior women. But so we had a single, a double, and 4, and they're like, right, we need to make an 8 here. We've got kind of 6 or 7 people. So Robin Fletcher, who's the head coach at the time, was like, you've got a big ergo. You row pretty well. Do you want to just have a go? Just sit in the middle of the 8 and hope for the best. So I was like, yeah, sure, why not?
Had you done much sweep before?
I'd maybe done like 2 sessions.
Okay.
I was literally just like, I can scull. What's like, I can do that. Why can't I do that?
Yeah.
So yeah, just chucked me in the 4 seat and was like, just have a go because we need the numbers. And I think it came like, I probably came like, no, I think we came 3rd. I think we beat Scotland or something.
good.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Sorry, Al Sinclair.
But yeah, well, that's one of my at that time as well. That was my biggest claim to fame, was that in the single I raced Gavin Horsburgh.
Okay.
Who's now like a 2-time lightweight world champion and like under 23 world champion. But at the time he was just some scrawny like 13-year-old kid. So I did him in the single. So that was quite.
Oh, good.
So yeah, that was, we were talking before we started airing about like luck, and it so happens the next year, again similar procedure. Like I did the ergo, got through the sort of the Christmas bit doing quite well. Again, similar trial at the trial system didn't go very well in the single. Got to the April ergo, did a 6:11, and that put me like 4th, I think, as a junior. I was like, behind. I think he had like Elwes doing a 58 and Digby on like 59 and Sam Mayer on 6:02 and like the big names. All of a sudden I found myself in like 4th or 5th, like right up there with like the big names.
Yeah.
And the sculling hadn't gone very well. So I was like, okay, let's go for the coupe quad. I think that's going to be my aim. The ergo's there. I just need to do well. And for some unknown reason, my dad got an email from Thrust, Richard Bolton, the head coach at the time. And he was like, I've been talking to Robin. He said you did some sweeping, or said Matt did some sweeping for him at the Home Internationals, and he actually did a pretty good job of it and looked in pretty good. Has he considered doing sweep? And obviously I was like, no, because there's no one for me to row with. I'm like, at that time I was in my single training with basically, I looked at them as really good, like older people, but they were just, standard club rowers. Yeah. They're just in singles who had their own private singles and couldn't be bothered to row with anyone else. So like 30, 40-year-old guys, and I was just racing them and like racing the women's 8 because they decided to put an 8 out. But there was no senior men at the time, like sort of, that sort of 25 to 35 range. Everyone was older or really young. So I was just out in my single the whole time. So I was like, well, I don't know who I'm going to row with. So luckily my dad has very good connections with Ian Dryden at Camford.
Okay.
So that's why I used to do my ergo test, because they have to be witnessed by someone who will your dad. Otherwise, you make up the scores.
544.
Wow, this guy's so good. So I used to go over to Camford and do my ergos there. And so my dad used to row quite a lot with Ian back when they were younger. And we basically got this email from Thrust, and he was like, yeah, let's go for it and let's do it. So he spoke to Ian, and Ian was like, well, I don't actually have anyone for you to row with, but there's this guy called Joe at Winchester who needs a partner. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. So that was before the spring assessments. I think we did maybe like, I don't remember rowing in the pair that much with him. I remember doing a few sessions at Camford with my dad and Ian coaching us. And then we kind of just did spring assessments, and we did like the little pairs race off beforehand to decide what like effectively main trips you're going to be in the ranking. Yeah. And I don't remember it going well, but I don't remember it going badly, which is good. I just got put in the spring assessment. I wasn't in the top wave of athletes because I'd literally been sweeping maybe like 10 times at this point. But I was in the wave that's kind of fighting out at the bottom in the Cox Forts and like the Stanford Cox Forts, the old classic.
Oh yeah,
that's where I was at spring assessment.
Yeah. the big old battleships. And for some reason, they decided to rate cap it at 32. I don't know if they still do that or if they did it when you were there.
I feel like there wasn't.
For some unknown reason, they decided to rate cap spring assessments at 32.
Was that this seat racing? Yeah, that you used to do. Yeah, so I'm not British, so I don't trial in this country. But the people who did trial for that was rowing with Hadley Under. They said that it was 1,500 meters and it was like rate 32 cap. It's just so you couldn't cheat, basically. But
yeah, true. Don't trust juniors to not cheat. Just wait till you get to senior level and just go down 1,500 at 42. But yeah, so we was rate capped, and all of a sudden this sort of like 6'5" massive junior kid from the south coast who can put a fat ergo can sit at 32 and just pull as hard as I can, and actually ended up doing very well. I think I won quite a few runs. I don't remember who I was swapped for, if I was swapped at all, but I remember going out quite well, and like sort of being a similar level as Arthur Doyle, who ex-St. Paul's guy, went to Harvard, and then at the time a very, very high level junior. And I remember being level with him and I was like, oh my god, how have I suddenly worked this out? So from coming from like that one random sweep experience at home countries to like suddenly making like the Munich junior team off the back of spring assessments, off like a rate capped sort of bit of seat racing, it was great. And so that was my first sort of like international experience. Obviously home countries counts, but first sort of GB representation was the Munich in 2014. And that was crazy because that was the first time I'd ever been abroad to do any sort of athletic or any sporting event. Yeah, like everything else, I'd only been as far up as like Nottingham. And like I'd been to Newcastle to do an athletics event. I was like, wow, that's so far away.
That's almost international. I mean, yeah,
it's a foreign land up north. Yeah.
Why?
So that was crazy, and like.
You can feel like a big deal walking, like being the British delegation, going out abroad to do sports. Yeah, I'm selected. I'm here.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like at Munich, there's not many other national teams. There's a few other smaller ones, like the Austrian team and like Swiss sometimes. But obviously the Germans are in their own like club sort of setup. But yeah, the going around and like actually having your own sort of branded kit is nuts. And I've still got the Munich one. I still wear it all the time, like the one with the fun flag on the back. And it's still one of my favourite ones. Like. To this day, because it's the first one I ever got. And then I did a classic thing of being a junior. When the moment you get the piece of kit, when you go back home and train, you wear it all the time, just so everyone knows.
I've got it. Is that the one with like the white rubber print flag on it?
Yeah, so it's like
red band and the
red,
blue.
yeah, red and blue, and then the back's got like the rubber.
Yeah, that's my first one as well. And I still somewhere there's a photo of like super keen me. Like you get the kit order, then put it all on, take the photo in the mirror.
I literally have the same one. I have.
We should get everyone.
I think you need to
put that together.
The first ever kit. Everyone did it.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing Ollie Knight and again talking about Ollie Knight and Seb Devereux did it because they're in the double the year before. So I remember seeing them do it. Yeah, those guys are really cool. So I did it as well.
Yeah.
So,
the hilarious thing for me is that it's not a selfie phone. It's like a Sony Ericsson. So it's me in the mirror.
Yeah. And you're just kind of looking at the phone.
Just now looks,
Yeah. It's on my Facebook somewhere.
Showing my age.
Many people have brought it up before. And I'm sure, I swear I've not seen the last of it.
We should celebrate them. We shouldn't take this.
It was good.
So that was basically the only one that GB used for World Cups for a while. Yeah, the cool one. Yeah. I think I've got a copy or two from some people who passed down some kit to me. Maybe it was Will Such, maybe not. I don't know.
Well, he would have enough of them, I'm sure.
Loads. Yeah, so that was that, and that kind of like pushed me onto the like, okay, this is something. At that point, I'd given up athletics as well, and I was fully into like the rowing side. I was like, okay, this is a go. I can make something of this on like the sweep side. You know, I've just turned up and I was rowing like shit. Like I've seen photos of myself and I have no idea what I'm doing. But it was like, okay, there's something in this. You know, sculling, you need to be finesse, and sweep, you can just sit in the middle of the 8 and kick it, which is great.
Cue my whole career.
So we did the first day in 4s, and it was all right. I think we were the second 4, and we ended up beating the A4 because you know how the draw goes. It's like top 2.
Yeah.
Had an easy draw, so we came second and got into the final when they were in the B final. So technically we won. And then the second day we did the 8, and again, I have no idea why they did this, but Thrush decided to put me in the stroke seat, and like I'd never stroked a boat before. I told him this. I told him I've never stroked before, but I'll give it a go. I think we went down at 28. Just because I couldn't go any higher.
To be fair, that's not bad for first time stroking 28.
Just bashing up and down, hoping for the best. And I think we came like 5th or 6th. We did really badly. And so when we went into like the next round, or maybe qualified through the heat, and when we got into the final, we're like, right, we're going to change this round. So I went back to like 2, and they brought one of the Eton guys forward and let him stroke it, and we came 3rd. So it was a lot better.
It's good. He obviously saw something in you.
The single sculler.
Yeah, like most scullers can row. It's not the other way around. But
most scullers can also stroke, but struggling to follow. But I don't think that was the case with you.
I think as well, like from a coach perspective, like if you're watching people at Spring Association, he's got a massive erg. We've literally just stopped him in the row in a sweep boat. He's doing well.
Right. Yeah,
like,
I think
you
that
can
was
see the progression. Obviously, as a junior as well, it's so fast from Munich to Worlds. You can get a lot done.
Yeah, for sure. It was one of those ones as well. I had been around the sea for quite a while at that point. So as I said, I started doing J16 stuff, and so my name had been in and around that group for a while. So it was, I think they must have realised that the sculling I probably wasn't going to get anywhere in sculling, but there could be a chance to do something with the sweep side. So yeah, we did Munich. It went well. I was really happy with it. Came home, thought I was, fucking big bollocks and all that. Got to the final trials, and obviously at final trials, for those that don't know, at final trials, they invite a list of people who they want to be there straight away, and then they do a race off the day before, maybe 2 days before.
It's literally like the morning of.
Yeah, it's really early. So I got invited to the pre-selected group, but my original pairs partner, Joe, didn't, and he had to go through the race off with someone else from Winchester. They didn't make it. So it left me kind of powerless again. And then Thrust was like, this is fine. This is Jeg, this is Charlie, his athlete. You can row together. I was like, oh, okay. So it's like, Charlie was, for those that don't know him, one of the genetic anomalies in life. And I think he made his first Worlds debut when he was like 14, 15. And
wow.
Yeah, he's...
What's he like? 7 foot, 450 kilos. Pulls a 520.
He's enormous. Yeah.
A genetic anomaly amongst a crowd of genetic anomalies.
Yeah, exactly. A genetic anomaly in the rowing scene. Yeah. Charlie he's enormous. Like even now, like the numbers he produces are outstanding. And you forget he's only like 25.
Is he?
So I'm 27. So it's got to be at least probably 26.
Okay.
And he's been around the scene for ages, and. Yeah, he was incredibly good, and obviously basically the top sweep junior at that point. So I was just chucked in a pair with him. So I was like, okay, great, let's have a wonderful time. I think Jeg, the Radley coach, John Gearing, was expecting it to be really good. It was not good. Me and Charlie still laugh about it at this time. We're like, even today, like when we came back from Sierra Nevada on Friday.
Yeah.
Like we were talking in the cab on the way back about how our pair was just so terrible, but it should have been really good because like we had an erg average of like 604 as juniors, and like we should have gone really well, but I just had no idea what I was doing, and I was in the stroke seats. I don't know why, but Charlie was just absolutely heaving me around. We spent the whole time in lane 0, and I was just like, well, blown that race. So yeah, that was the morning. We did the race in the morning, and we got separated into our different, again, like spring assessment, separated into our different categories for racing, but this time it wasn't very capped, and I was in composites 4s, and I got battered because I just wasn't used to moving, because I was just, even after I made the transition to sweep, I still would go back to going to Christchurch and just go in single because I had no one to row with. So it was like after Munich in April time roughly,
April, May, early May, something like that.
I basically spent all the time until final trials and like after Henley just in a single, basically just by myself, going in the odd quad with some of the veterans out there, just going out with my dad, just doing, morning sessions, going to college, coming back, maybe doing weights with a bit of a senior team that are starting to form at Christchurch. And But then these guys were basically just, they're tradies, so they there's like carpenters and builders, so they're strong, but not necessarily the best rowing sort of people. They were very good, like a club level, like coastal club level.
I think also there's a big difference between how men and boys row.
Yeah.
And my junior year in 2007, Will Satch had spent the whole year rowing at Leander with blokes.
Yeah.
And then went to six final assessments, and just couldn't row like the kids. So ended up going to Coop in 07.
Yeah.
And which is pretty crazy for an athlete at that standard. But it's a big difference to how they move the boat.
Yeah, for sure. So we were just like rowing together. Like I jump in the odd sweep session with them in like a big coastal boat, so it's battling waves and stuff. So that was fun. But I didn't really do anything, and so I turned up at spring assessments and just basically try to do what I did in April. Turned up at final trials, try to do what I did at spring assessments, which was like go down at 32 and just really haul on it, whereas everyone else was up at 37, 38, just moving really well in Cox's fours. And I remember there's an Evesham Cox's four, but that was all four of them, and they just happened to just be together in all of the runs.
That's not fair.
It was just not fair at all. But luckily at the time, I was quite good friends with them through the spring assessments and all the junior stuff. So it wasn't an issue for me if I got moved in. But I remember they were in their four and they did a run and they swapped. One person swapped, and you're just looking at it like, we don't need to run this sheet race. We know what the outcome's going to be because they're just not going to try. But so I just got battered for like 3 days out of like the 4-day seat racing it was. I was just like losing every run and just coming off getting worse and worse. And you're seat racing at Nottingham, so you finish and you go up to those like rubbishy dormitories they've got, and you're just there in a bunk bed with like 8 guys, and it's just you're just crying like, I've just blown this. And my dad wasn't there at that point because he was off. He was still coaching, so he couldn't take time off. So again, I went up with Ian Dryden and the Camford lot. So I didn't really have anyone to like fall back on. And being a 17, 18-year-old boy, I don't want to just ring my mum and be like, Mum, I'm really struggling. So I just kind of got on with it and just spiraled down and down. And I got to the final day. I was like, right, this is kind of make or break now. I'd been moved into the Cox fours, which is usually a sign of like you're fighting for keep, like bottom end of like the world's team. I was like, right, I'm gonna do it. And I put on my Munich calling one, and like,
I
was like, okay, here it is. A bit of symbolism, like the actual GB one. I was like, right, I'm gonna fucking remember why you selected me for that. And then I suddenly turned it around, and I suddenly like got back into a proper headspace of rather than just being like, it's getting worse and worse and worse. And suddenly I was like, okay, right, I'm gonna prove a point. I'm going to show why I'm here. Like, I was selected for a reason. I'm stronger than these guys, so I can do it.
It's a victim versus fighter mentality.
Yeah, for sure.
It's really like adult thing to do at that age, especially like you said, without support network. You didn't have a coach and having to speak to.
Yeah,
to like word out on your own head at that age. Like that's like sports psychologist.
It worked quite well. I didn't really even necessarily think I'm going to do it to like externally show. I was like, for me, I like this is why I'm doing it. I mean, a little flag on your chest, like, okay, I'm going to make this happen. And we finished the day, and it was a very good day. I kind of went back to winning stuff again. And Robin Fletcher was there, the Monmouth coach who got me into sweep in the first place. And he was like, you did a really good job today. Because he was obviously, the coaches do their thing in the evening where they all lobby for who they want to be in the boats anyway, regardless of the results.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have anyone doing that. So I think Robin kind of stood up for me in that.
That's good.
That aspect, which is really good of him because we didn't need to at all. The only like connection we have is that I once rode in his 8 for Wales, but he's kind of stuck by that ever since, which is really nice.
Yeah, once a coach, always a coach.
Yeah, exactly.
Thing, yeah.
And he basically was like, it was noticed the all-in-one you wore. Like, people did notice why you wore it and like that you wore it. So I didn't even think about it like that, but it was like, I kind of actually worked to get people to be like, actually, it does. It does hold seriously. Yeah. And then we finished. I was like, okay, great. I'm probably going to go to Coop here. Who knows? Let's see. And then they were doing like the team announcement afterwards, like the same day, and they were just reading out like the world's team, and then they read my name out. That's completely unexpected. I remember I was like pretty shocked. So basically, we went outside and basically just rang my parents straight away and was like, yeah, I'm going to be selected in the world's team, like in the 8. Like, this is great. So yeah, no, that was brilliant. That was my first proper serious international event I was going to. You know, Munich is obviously great, but it's kind of just a little stepping stone, really.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was summer of 2014 in Hamburg. It's in the men's 8 in the 4-seat. Yeah, just chucked in. No one. I don't think anyone from that 8 is still rowing.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was.
That's interesting.
Yeah, everyone kind of stopped almost after juniors. A couple of people carried on. So Luke Towers, Charlie Thurston, and Will England were this sort of 3 other people that carried on. Will then went off to Bath and basically became the head coach at Bath for a while. So he quite enjoyed it. He carried on the most. But yeah, we were kind of just like the bottom boat that we kind of were just thrown together. And I think at the time there was like a little bit of a rumour going around that Dave Tanner didn't actually want to send us as an 8. He didn't think we were fast enough.
Wow.
So we had a little call in our rep to I can't repeat the words, but a little, a J18 call in the middle of the race to remind us that he didn't want to send us.
I think most of us have made that call.
Yeah,
For the love of David.
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, definitely that. So I remember had that, and we made it into the final, which for us was our goal, because again, as the bottom boat, they're like, right, if we can just make the final, anything can happen. And it so happened that the final was a massive crosswind, and because we came through the rep, we were in like lane 5, and we got absolutely blown away. I think the Germans won in like 6:30, and we did like 7:20 or something. It was, we were a long way out the back, but we still beat the French, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
If you made an A final, we'll find
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's what is also, or just as I was just saying there, like you look back at like World Rowing. I don't know if you did this as well when you were a junior. If you look back at World Rowing and looking who was in the boats, and there was 2 French guys in the 8, the Tardan twins, who are now in the men's Cox's 4, who I've been racing all season. So it's funny that how it kind of just all comes around.
Yeah, we beat some Aussies in my first N23 to beat the Aussie 8, and then we partied with them that night. And then, quite quickly, I can't remember who the bowman was, went into the Aussie 4. He was in it in 2012. Just feeling a bit shit. But I did beat you once.
But beat you, so I'm technically better.
Yeah.
Well, they were like, they wanted to know, how long have you been in the 8? And we were like, about
weeks,
9 days. Yeah. And they were like, we've been training in this for 3 months, and you beat us.
That's always the best thing with like under 23s. Like you finish, you do Henley, and you're like, right, off you go. You've got a week and a half. Crack on.
It's so focusing though. It's like you make so much progress. You've only got that short amount of time. Yeah,
not just faff around.
As a junior, my last year, I also did the Boston Trials thing. Came up basically dead last. Had the 3-hour drive home. Yeah, quite similar. Yeah. Went to spring assessments. Got absolutely hammered for 4 days.
It's really good for juniors to get absolutely battered.
I mean, the one thing I will say is that was like absolutely the hardest thing I've ever done in rowing. Yeah. And then when I went out of school to Leander, I was like, it's going to be like spring assessments every day. And then it wasn't. So I actually was like quite happy that I haven't seen much. But then I went to final trials. I didn't quite make it in the pre-selected. So I turned up for the pairs matrix. They said they were only going to bring a couple of guys. And Royal Chester had gone on training camp when the other selection was. They had 2 guys who'd made worlds in that seat race off, and basically I didn't make it in, but my pairs partner couldn't do the whole thing, so my coach drove us up. We did the first time trial. They said, you're going to be one of the 6 pairs we'll do this matrix with. My pairs partner and my coach then left. I then did the seat race, didn't get in, so then I had to get some other random coach to drive me to Nottingham train station, and then I got a train home.
That's miserable.
Yeah, that was really pretty brutal. But again, then that was the fire to keep going and get to under 23s. Yeah. It's interesting what you say about that I guess now none of those juniors are rowing. Did some of them do under 23s still?
So none from my 8. So in my year they sent a pair, a Cox 4 and an 8. So no one from the 8 did anything else after that. Luke Towers went to, I think, BU, and he didn't do under 23s, but he trialed for a bit and then was like, I'm just going to get a job. Like most people do. The pair consisted of Arthur Doyle and Ollie someone. I can't remember his name. It's really bad with me. I remember
the names of people.
Yeah, but yours was like 30 years ago. Dick.
I'm gonna timestamp that and share it around. Finally.
So Arthur Doyle carried on for a bit, and I did my. He did under 23s, basically the same time as me. So we were the same age, but I did one more than him because he did 2, and then graduated from Harvard and was like, I'm gonna get a job.
I love this, like, especially in my era. It was when they first started trying to convince athletes not to go to America Uni, and they were saying it's because no athletes come back and row. No one's gone to America and come back to the senior team.
Yeah,
and I was like, yeah, but I don't think that's because they couldn't. I think it's because they discovered life and got offered a job in Silicon Valley. And,
exactly. There's been a massive swing in that. I guess I remember my first sort of 2 years ish into under 23s. So 2015 and 16. I didn't do 2015 because I was rubbish.
It's a step up.
Yeah. It is. Well, I think I gave my seat to Morgan. Well, that's what Henry Bedash told me, that I was sacrificing my seat for Morgan, who's a lot better than me. But that was the first sort of turning point where they started allowing American students back in. And then all of a sudden, it's basically like if you go to America, you're not set, but you have a good advantage, and you suddenly have
more communication. Like they're getting, like, they know scores and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're always in touch with the coaches. Whereas, like, I don't know. I obviously can't comment how it is at the universities, but at Brookes, it's very much just like you don't care about trials. So you spend the whole year going for Henley, and that's it. And you do Henley, then it's like, okay, that's just how we go. I'm training this because why not? Yeah. You can see the momentum shift between the bias towards American unis and not, but it's an interesting one.
How many people are currently in the team you can look back and like they've gone to university in America? Is quite a lot, especially way more than like take 10 years ago.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Makes sense. Like the programs are big, recruiting's a lot bigger deal now as well.
Funding is on a different level.
Yeah, massively. I think the scholarships that you can get offered to go to university and do any sport, it's quite stupid not to take it up. So after I did juniors, I got quite a few messages, as I'm sure most people who go to Junior Worlds do, from their various recruiters. I had like Harvard, Washington, and one more. I can't remember. There's another one, but basically the Harvard and Washington ones were the ones I was kind of looking at. And then I was like, I actually have to do like SATs to get in. And I was like, I'm not actually very academic, hence why I chose Brookes. Great university. No, I was like, my field was never in the academic side. I was good. I was good enough to get by, and I could do it. But I wasn't good enough to, in my opinion, I didn't think I'd be good enough to pass the SATs. So I was like, although it's great, I can't get in on rowing alone. I've got to have something with it. So I basically just said, thanks very much for your information and your consideration. But I've spoken to Henry, and Henry had already messaged me off the back of juniors and was like, I think he saw me off the back of spring assessments, was like, do you want to come down for like a day, like a trial day at Brookes and have a go? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? It'll be fun. And I turned up, classic, Welsh in one on, so everyone knew what I'd done. I didn't want to go full GB because I didn't want to look like too much. But
smart move.
Yeah, I put the Welsh one on. And I remember the first day I was there, I was like, I got changed next to Stanley. And like, I was like, wow, this guy's massive. And he'll love me for saying that, because I've never told him. But like, you coming in as a junior, and it was like, wow, this is great, and like, this guy's huge, and like, he's like a man, and I'm just some like 17-year-old kid. So I did my first day there, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna pursue with this, and it was like, they just kind of, it offers a lot in America, but if you can find that in the UK, then that's arguably just as good, and that's what I found through Brookes. I was very much like, I'm going to go and push the rowing as much as possible. The degree is kind of secondary for me, hence why I did sport, because I picked a degree that I could filter into my rowing and I could help with my rowing.
Yeah.
And, you know, I learned about like nutrition and the biomechanics and stuff, and it would help me filter in something through rowing.
Yeah.
I could at least apply it.
That's a classic move. If you like speak to kids at college, you're like, okay, which unis are you considering? Well, which unis are good at rowing? Yeah. That's my list, and then I'm going to narrow down which degree they're like from.
Yeah. Yeah, if your aim is rowing, then that absolutely makes sense.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with studying sport and science and
we always talked about being pretty amazed that when we coached at Oxford College, that any of these kids who've given up their entire life since they're 13 to make Oxford, and now like getting up early and going rowing. Right?
Like,
I'm amazed they're doing it. But, like, if your aim is that way. I was going to say, like, so obviously, the choice, so uni was obviously to progress rowing.
Yeah.
What point in that sort of last year at school, like how sort of professional would you say you were taking it? I think it's a good question for juniors.
Yeah.
Because it gets really serious really quickly. And there is a point to being seriously, but were you still sort of doing any other sports or enjoying life a bit? Like, that you don't if you're
like, for sure. So I think I took it pretty seriously. Obviously, compared to probably today's standards and what I do now, it was probably just dotting around.
Yeah.
I mean, well, you can ask anyone at Cav what I do, and they'll say I just dot around anyway and look to cut corners as quickly as possible. But I was doing it fairly seriously. So I was doing, as I was saying, probably about 2 sessions every day. So I was doing a session in the morning and then going to my college was literally 5-minute walk away from the rowing club. That's literally right there. And so I'd cycle down like 10-15 minute cycle down to the rowing club, do a session in the morning, shower, change, bit of breakfast, and then like 5-minute walk, and I'm into college and I'm doing my A-levels. And then I'd finish, and then I'd cycle home again, another 10-15 minutes, and then go back down in the evening and train with them. So I was taking it pretty seriously, but again, at the same time, I think I stopped athletics when I was 17. So 1 year into A-levels. So I was still mixing around quite a lot, and my emphasis and my reason for that, and if anyone like juniors are listening and they do similar things, is if you do another sport, it's going to help regardless of what that sport is. So like for me, I was using athletics, and I didn't train athletics very seriously because I knew I wasn't going to pursue it. So I was doing maybe 2-3 sessions a week, and so I'd do high jump, and we'd go down on a Sunday, like midday, and it would be a jumping session. And so it would be like there for like an hour, and we'd be doing like a bit of plyometrics, but mainly just jumping. And obviously the rationale behind that is it's getting me springy. I'm not getting heavy. I'm just getting that explosive dynamism just to get off the ground. And then if it was during the winter, the second session on like a Thursday night would just be like sprinting. So we'd do like 200 meter sprints. So it was getting me fast, and it was getting me used to feeling uncomfortable in my legs. So although I didn't spend every single day doing rowing all the time, it's still something that's helpful to rowing. Like if you decide to do rugby and rowing, or like you're at school and you're doing rowing and cricket, like everything's going to help. Like the coordination needed for cricket is going to help massively with rowing, or like the endurance capabilities of a football player and a rugby player, just to keep running and keep going and going, is going to help massively into rowing. So I think the biggest part, if you're a junior and you're still trying to come through, is you don't need to constantly don't need to devour your life with rowing. Because by the time when I came to Brookes in 2014, as we were saying just off air, like that was the first year Brookes won the Temple since I think 2003. I think Bailash won it himself. So that was like a massive moment for the club, and it was like the 8 of Rory Copus, Jamie Copus, Callum Jones, Sebron Hoogland, Tim Grant,
Joel Casals, and Ed Grisdale. And they were like, the first year I went into Brookes, they were considered like
the gods.
Gods of rowing. Like these guys are so good, and they were very good. But like Callum Jones, he was a really big junior in his time as well. And he was like, did all of this like really high level. He did won Henley, and then he kind of like burnt out a little bit. I don't know if that's strictly true, so I apologise to Callum if he listens and I'm completely saying the wrong thing.
Didn't he go to Leander for a bit, Callum? Or am I talking about different Callum?
I'm not sure. He was rowing he went to St Edward's School and then went to Brookes, and he may have done.
He's got like the bushy hair, really big, like huge arms.
No, that's a different one.
Okay.
The one I'm thinking of is like, he's like, sort of, he was not quite a lightweight, but he was close to being a lightweight.
Okay, yeah. No, the Callum I'm talking about is like big, massive. Yeah.
No, Callum Jones, he was a very like technically gifted rower, and it seemed on the outside that he did Henley. He got halfway through the next year and just kind of like burnt out and just didn't like rowing anymore. And again, I apologise to Callum if he's listening and that's completely wrong, but that's how it appeared on the outside at least. Like a really high talent as a junior, and just burnt out. And like,
I've seen that example again a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of guys, even guys who hit in like the top junior 4, who then never have found it at the 23s.
Yeah,
you can certainly overdo certain things. Like I used to just be annoyed. Like there would be some kids in Poland who were better on the ergo than me, and I would say this to my coach, be like, right, ask them how many erg sessions they do a week, and they'd do like 4 or 5. He's like, right, you're doing 1.
Yeah.
you've got like a big
such a big gap.
You've still got like loads of room to like improve and everything, and like I just couldn't agree more about what you said about like, you know, you need general development, like you don't need to get so hyper specialized, like especially in the junior years.
Longevity in the sport as well. If you're looking for a career, you want to look after your body. And I read a study recently was they looked at super high performing athletes in America, in like American football, basketball and stuff, and they're trying to look at factors that are common to all of these super high level, and like one of the things was that they were multi-sport athletes as a kid, because all those other things, plyometrics
too, for sure.
And that's something that, like, again, like when I first broke into the team, sort of 2013, I think that was also the first time they started bringing the plyometric stuff in. We would do one of those sessions instead of a weight session. But yeah, before then it was like, you're on the water or in the ergo, or it doesn't count.
Or you lift. And
the ergo literally was like, it doesn't. Like when I was injured, I went swum for 3 weeks. Yeah. Came back, called a decent ergo, and he was like, super surprised.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I haven't been like on my app, like just because
I'm doing stuff. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing is like, even at like university level, you know, like if you just fully dedicate your life to something and you're not ready to make it your life, you could just really hate it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you're really good. If you just hate something, you're not going to commit to it. And I think, at a junior level, just fully focusing in on one thing straight away is a bit of a, not a mistake, but you've got to be very careful that you as you said originally in your question, you've got to have something to branch out with, something you can do is different.
Yeah, you stand a lot to lose by also just like not even like exploring your potential and capabilities. Like doing athletics is really good for mobility and for different types of stretches and different movements. Like we can just get so like too narrowed down and like just rock over.
Yeah, and you just sit down. Like our job is just sitting down all day.
Yeah.
Like, granted it's in a moving boat, but you're still just sat down like, the whole time.
When we talked to Ben Welburn and sort of discussed professionalism and how important that is, and I was thinking about that, but I think for me, professionalism is like knowing when to be professional and serious and knowing when to have fun, and like having that separation of like when I'm rowing, I'm going to get the most out of it, but on Saturday night, and then the difference also being like you can still go out, but like
for sure,
go home at 12 instead of 4 in the morning, or drink a litre of water before you go to bed.
Henry gave us a great one. I think that's a really good point, especially for university students. Like you go to university, not many people go to university just for rowing. And if you do, great, but there's another whole other side to it. Like so I met my fiance at university. I was at Brookes, and we met for the first time on the 3-legged pub crawl that Brookes do, where you're just strapped to someone. We were just walking down, just basically just getting pissed with each other, and like she ended up going, you know, the Bullingdon, and she ended up like getting on the table and like stripping down, and I was like, that's the one. But like, you know, that you wouldn't get that if you just like, I'm just gonna do rowing 100%. Like, you know, you miss out on all of that, and you miss out on all the like the social side of it, which is such huge for the development of not just like yourself, but like, you know, crew bonding, crew dynamics. You've got to have some form of release, otherwise it always just gets too much. And like, I think Henry Baylash, like the Brookes coach, once told us like, if you're going out, because up until like 2012, he would come out with the Brookes team. Like, he loves it. He did. And then again, as we started getting more serious in like sort of, as I said, 2014, 15, he would, you know, wide berth professionalism, very good. But like up until then, he would come out with
professionalism.
When he wants to, he's really good. But like he would come out with like the team on the nights out, and it's great because I think that's what adds to the Brookes level of like, we take rowing seriously, but end of the day, it's still a university. You're here to enjoy yourself. If you just focus on rowing, life's rubbish.
You're large on both fronts.
Basically. Exactly. Yeah. But he said to once like, right, if you're gonna go out and you're gonna drink, spirits only, no beer. Just go to spirits. Then it's over quicker and it's done. And he's not wrong.
Good advice.
But so you just miss out on so much if you don't. You don't have that, like, and everyone coins the term like, you know, life social balance. You know, you've got to have it in touch. And you know, even now, like the Brookes have all their socials. Even now, they're taking it like basically it's a high performance program now, and even now it's like right at the pinnacle from like since I've left in the past couple of years. But they're still going out on Wednesday nights. They're still going to the O2 and still, you know, waking up in a ditch somewhere, and then you go to training the next day because that's what you do. You know, if you're going to be an idiot and wake up with a broken nose in a ditch, the least thing you can do is go to training the next day. Like there's this one guy I think when I was in my 4th year, we went out and he ended up in hospital, like blood covering his face.
Oh.
And he sent a message to Henry saying, with a picture saying, sorry, I'm going to be a bit late, but like fully intending to go down. And Henry saw it and was like, brilliant. You've told me what's happened. I can appreciate you've had a great time, but you probably shouldn't go rowing. But he's like, oh, well, I'm ready. I'm about to drive. But Henry was like, no, you've done well. Treat yourself. Have a day off.
Do you remember, don't name any names, but do you remember the story I'm going to talk about?
Yeah.
From Oxford College?
I think so.
So we got like a text message. Sorry, I'm not going to come to train this morning. I've been in A&E all night. A wall fell on me.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
It was like,
What?
explain. So he'd got locked out of his college at a certain time. The swipe card doesn't go too late. So he decided to climb over this wall, but it's quite an old rickety wall.
Yeah.
As he's coming down the other side,
Just
half
come
the
with it.
wall's come with him. Landed on his leg. He said he was fine, but I think like the porter was like, "Dude, you need to go to A&E. Like we're in so much trouble if you." Yeah.
If you see it.
But yeah, same thing. I mean, I guess you were like kind of like, what an idiot.
But then you will do it.
Yeah.
It's like, so we obviously at university, well, I assume it's the same with all universities. Wednesday night, the big sports night.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
when
yeah.
everything, you have your games. Granted, rowing is very different, but they still do half days at Brookes.
Yeah.
You have to, and that's the big social. And everyone will go out. It's the pack mentality. If one person goes out, we've all got to go out. Therefore, it's fair. So then you turn up the next day into the gym. You've did you go to the old Brookes gym? Or have you only been to like the new one?
No. So I've been to in the main sports hall when they had down the corridor.
Yeah, the sweat box.
Yeah.
Yeah. The traditional one.
Not the new one.
Not the new one.
isn't a
No,
sweat
the new
box.
one's rubbish. No.
There's also a sweat box.
But then the old one, that's where the mentality goes.
Yeah.
But you go in there, you've got like 40 people crammed in. Like all the ergos are full, all the bikes are full, and you've got the people in the 9th 8 doing like jumps and squats on the rubber next to it because there's not enough ergos for them to do anything. And everything is just pissing with sweat, but that sweat is coming out as alcohol from the night before. Like you walk down the corridor, you can smell the vodka and you can smell the vomit from people outside. And you're like, yes, everyone is in the same position. I feel like shit. So does everyone else. Let's crack on. Then all of a sudden you're putting like 147s having the best session of your life because you're like still drunk from the night before. So it's great.
It's a great way to start to prove to yourself you're capable of more. And like, even when you're not feeling your best, you can still put performance in.
Yeah, for sure.
Those are good lessons.
Yeah. And then it's building that like, the squad mentality of like, we're all in this together. Like, if someone backs out, then, you've got a room of 30 men just are going to stare at you and all know why you're taking the day off. So you can't skive out of it. Yeah. And Henry knows why you're taking the day off as well. So he's not an idiot. He's been there. So I think it will help us to like, even if you feel like shit, you still come in, you still do the session and you still push it on. And I think that being led by the athletes and the coaches has really helped push the Brookes program on so much that like accountability to yourself.
Yeah, I guess in the perverse way, like you show the vulnerable side of yourself to the rest of the team, but like everyone's doing it. Therefore, you just kind of like remove that bottom barrier. And then, there's nothing to hide. Like you all know each other. You've been there at your worst, so you can be there at your best. Like there's not like, there's no hiding or like putting like a facade or anything like this.
I like the quotes like you don't work up to your goals. You fall back on your processes. So it's like like you're all together. You're going to get this job done. Someone's struggling. You're going to lean come on, mate. You've got it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think the term Henry used to like to use was drains and radiators. And it's probably quite a classic one that's been coined by a lot of people. But you want drain. No, you don't. You don't want drains. That's the opposite of what you want. You want radiators, and you don't want to have drains. You want people that are going to add the energy. They're going to add sort of like, as you say, like a leader sort of attitude. They're going to push everyone up. But you don't want the people that are sat in a corner and be like, this is shit. This is rubbish. Why are we here? Why are we doing that? Just sucking it out. And I think it's very good at like not stamping down on that, but just enforcing that like we're here for a reason. I like it. Again, like it's little things. So when we did USA for the first time as an 8 in 2016, I think, ages ago, we went through a phase of everyone going shotgun not doing stuff. So like we come into the landing stage, we take the boat, and the first thing you do is go shotgun not on the boat down. And you have everyone doing it. And Henry lost his fucking mind. He went nuts. He's like, I don't want to hear anyone going shotgun fucking not. It's like, I want to hear shotgun, yes, tying the things down. And so obviously we'd being immature students that we were, took it the other way and started saying shotgun yes to literally everything. So,
well, it worked.
But it worked. Yeah. It worked, and it gets you like doing stuff. It's just little bits like that. It's like, you know, you just got to have someone that's going to add to the boat, and that leads me into like, it's almost like I planned it. I didn't, but one of the best bits of advice I have been given in my rowing career is be the person the boat can't function without.
Yeah,
and I mean that was from Matt Gregory, so he's pretty good at rowing, so he kind of knows what he's talking about. And yeah, he said to be the person the boat can't function without, and I took that into my later years of rowing, and it was like, you don't have to be the biggest, the strongest, like the big old monkey or whatever it is, like the old put-in monkey. You can be that guy that just sits there and sets the boat up and lets everyone do the work and adds to the boat and does the calls and makes sure that like you're constantly lifting everyone so to get the best out of everyone else around you. And I think that's a really important thing for seat racing, especially when you're just chucked into random boats and you've got 3k to get a warm-up going before you have to like race for your life. If you can be that person that makes everyone lift and rise and like it's like, yeah, I want to be here, yeah, I want to go, let's do it, let's really take it on, let's see what we can do, then all of a sudden the boat just gets better and better rather than like spiraling down. And when everyone's tired, if you can bring everyone up, then
there's a lot more that makes a boat move faster than just the A score. Yeah. I always tell people like sweep, scull, stroke side, bow side, make sure you stroke and learn how to steer.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you fit so many more boxes.
Yeah, if you can do everything, then
and also lend a hand in like improving the team's morale. I think it was Alex Partridge that told us a story about when they just went off for the race start in Beijing for the Olympic final, and then they weren't in such a great mood at that time when they set off, and like it took someone to be like, right boys, we've got this to do, let's snap out of it, let's get back on it. And like, why not be that person? Because that's like you don't need the talent to do that. That's nothing to do with rowing. There's something to do with
being yourself. You know, just be that person that just takes charge and like kind of leads from the front kind of attitude. You don't have to be like the best, but if you can make everyone else around you the best, then you can be up there.
Yeah.
And then if you ever get swapped out of a boat, they're going to notice that you're gone because all of a sudden they're used to having you pushing them up. So if you get swapped out in a seat race, or even if you just get moved down a boat for whatever reason, or that crew that you've been moved out of is suddenly going to miss you, and they're going to be like, well, how do we do this? What do we do? And you're all of a sudden giving that knowledge to someone else, and they go faster. And
you went such a cracking piece of advice. Like, just like be the guy that like picks the blades up, exactly. Ties the boat down, washes it down, like stays back late. Like, there's so many little things you can do that. Exactly,
just sort of get the blades down early. Just make sure the boat's checked, or like you don't even need to have to go into like super like anal like cleaning and tidying. It's just the tiny little bits that you don't necessarily think about, where everyone else is just off doing whatever it is they're doing, like, or in the morning coming down, stretching, doing activations, whatever it is to be ready for the session. So you're not taking the first 3k to like warm up and loosen off. You're already there, and you can add that life in straight away. And maybe like the other people around you who are a bit more tired or a bit sleepy, or a bit like almost just dragged along with you, so then they are kind of ready to go too.
I definitely think I've seen it before in cruise. Like, it only takes one of those people to bring everyone else along.
And someone's got to do it. Someone's got to pick up the blades. Someone's got to have to check that the boat's tired, there's not going to fall off, etc. And you're going to gain quite a lot from being that proactive person, even just for like your own comfort, your own head and everything. So.
Even if it's just, as you're saying, like a little routine. Like so for the past couple of years, last year and a bit, when I've been in the team and we go to do races, I always try and like go down a bit early and like put the blades down and like try and be the one that does that, because it's just my way. I can just be on my own for a bit and just think, okay, this is it. I'll go through this process. It's the ADHD autism talking. You have to do the right thing in the right sequence. But if it's anything that helps you focus in on what you have to do, then do that. So like I'll go and like be one of the first there, just to make sure that I'm there and I'm on time, and I take the blades down, or I come back and I'm just making sure that everything's tight, or like this is a massive case of the ADHD kicking in.
I think that's just rowers.
Yeah, that's very true. But the hatch cover on the stern, gotta make sure that's pointing in line with the stern, because then aerodynamics. Otherwise, it's turning sideways and it's handbrake, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's a straight line.
I think there's a really good coping mechanism for nerves and stuff. So I always sort of feel like I don't often sit down for a pre-race chat about how we might go and win a world championship. Like, that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
But I do every single day go down, do my stretching.
Yeah,
like as soon as you can get into that process,
routine.
Yeah, and like you push off on the landing stage. All right,
Just
stop.
second
Squats
nature.
line,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
boom,
Just
you're
bang,
in.
bang, bang.
Yeah.
Setting the blades out, the hatch cover, like you're speaking my language right here.
It's good. Yeah, it's just hitting the routine. You know, it's like you don't have to go and like set the world alight all the time. But I think what was very good with our 4, especially from this year, I mean, you got Fred and Dave in the boat, and they are just like massive jokers, and they're just like they don't take anything seriously until they have to. And when we were in a viz in the pre-worlds camp we had I think it was like a 1500 or a K out the blocks, and Paul Stannard commented to Christian, our coach, he was like, I didn't think they were ready for this piece, because they're coming up alongside, literally like 5-6 minutes to go, we were just chatting so much shit, like pissing around, like just making noises, just basically being ourselves, you know. And then all of a sudden we turned into lane and bang, it was on. It was a race mode, and we like fully hedged in, fully like engaged. And Paul said to Christian, like, yeah, I didn't think they were going to do it. And then all of a sudden they bang, switched it on. And like, I think that's what works so well for us. Is like we take it seriously when we have to, but when we don't, we just enjoy what we're doing. We have fun. Like we're 4 young guys, 4 young guys just enjoying ourselves, like doing what we've wanted to do for years. And yeah, we just enjoy the moment, and we're just like living it. And then when we have to be serious, we switch it on and we go. And I think that works really well for us, because you've got the pressure of the situation. And all of last year and all of the year before, everyone was asking like, how are you dealing with the pressure of being the men's 4? And after the disappointment of Tokyo, I'm like, well, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I don't care about that. They maybe didn't perform very well, but they came 4th, so they weren't far off it. And like the men's 4, for example, were leading until the steering, they were right in it until the steering went. And yes, they didn't get the result they wanted, but they weren't a million miles away. So I wouldn't say it was a failure. That's just what the press have said. And like all this pressure you've supposedly come up with has only come from what the media are saying. So if we don't look at that, we're new guys. We don't have the pressure, the legacy of Redgrave and Pinson and Triggs Hodge and Pete Reed, because we're not them, you know. We just turn up and do our thing, and if it's good enough, great. And if it's not, then we can work on that. But
I like the
love that.
Sometimes the difference between 1st and 4th is like 1 second and how other people treat you.
Exactly. Yeah.
So anything more than that.
Granted, that's if I fingers crossed and stay in the 4 for this year, that's probably all going to change, and the pressure of going into whoever's in the 4, regardless of who it is, we don't know yet at time of interview.
But I think that's also a really interesting point, because I think like the processes are the same. Like when you talk to people about, like you said, being able to switch it on and off, but you can't just copy what other people are doing. You need to do it your way.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I kind of always think back to Cool Runnings.
Yeah.
When he sees the Austrians get ready for their race, and they're like
tries to
smacking each other on the head.
Yeah.
And he tries to do that. It just
doesn't work.
And everyone's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
You can't just straight copy it.
Yeah, exactly.
You understand that you can see how people get into their race mode.
Yeah.
And that's another bit of advice I always say is like, as a crew, like always like sit down before and find out how do you do it. Yeah. You're going to be quiet, you're going to be loud.
Yeah.
Like if I don't want to be loud, I'll make sure I stay away from you. I want to be jokey.
Yeah, exactly.
Or we can all be jokey together.
For sure.
And just got to learn your way of doing it.
Plus being all serious, etc. Like sometimes it has its positives, but like a big positive that people don't talk about, like when it comes to joking around and messing about and just having a right old laugh, is it makes you kind of immune to pressure, because you're not focusing on like what you have to do is immediately like you just what Freddie said or what Dave said behind you, etc. It's like, okay, cool, it's time to go. Right.
And then bang.
As soon as you put your blade in, you know exactly what to do.
Yeah, it is a good way of like. So like each, as you're saying as well, like each individual has their own way of dealing with pressure. And for me, it's like I do my routine, and if I hit my routines, that's fine. I know it's okay, and I just talk to myself, and I try and like joke around. And if I start getting nervous, I'll start talking a lot, and like I'll start like analyzing racing and how the session wasn't. I like overanalyze things. I like data. But Ollie Wilkes, for example, he likes to be quite quiet, and he likes to just have his own mindset. And then Fred and Dave are just Fred and Dave, and they're just pissing around, just being completely inappropriate with each other. But that's what gets them into the zone, because they don't like thinking about racing until that's it, hands on the boat, and then it's completely different.
Yeah.
So we have a chat at the start of the year, as you're saying, and we work out what is best for us as a crew and what people like, what people don't like. And it helps us, as you said, deal with the pressure of things, because we don't overload ourselves, or we don't force one person to do what everyone else wants. Like, you know, if we say we're having hands-on 40 minutes before the boat, we're not making sure that in an hour to go, we're all doing exactly the same thing and all stretching and all making sure we're doing this. It's like, okay, this is our time. We have a chat with Christian an hour before, turn up to that, otherwise you get a bollocking. And then hands-on at 40 minutes. Whatever you want to do in the middle of that, go for it. Feel free. If you want to sit down and listen to music, or if you want to like spin on the bike a little bit, or if you want to just like, just go to like the vending machine and grab like a Coke or something, like whatever works for you, as long as when we get to 40 minutes to go and hands on, you're ready, that's all that matters.
Does he still do that on time is 5 minutes late?
Yeah.
I love that. I use that a lot.
It's great. It's good. It's a good one, because otherwise you get people who just push it really far. But yeah, Christian's a good one. So like Christian got into his head for some reason that Dave was always late, regardless. I think because for one day he turned up like 5 minutes late, and he always got it into his head that Dave is like the worst man for timekeeping, just from this one incident. So like literally before every race, it's like he would always go to Fred and be like, who's sharing with Dave? Okay, make sure he's on time. And it's just like, he's there all the time. He's not gonna. It's just one. It's one session he missed, like a bit late.
Just couldn't deal with it.
That's it. Dave is untrustworthy with time. No, it's just a bit late. But it's all good.
Cool. Let's get into under 23s then.
Sure.
How was that?
Yeah.
And obviously the first year at Brookes.
Yes.
Did you in your first year at Brookes? Did you win Henley that year?
No. So my first year at Brookes started in September 2014. I must say, so my attitude at Brookes was try and just beat everyone. I turned up and, as you said, you've been to the gym, you see the whiteboard with every single half hour on. Now, we do a half hour every Monday at set times. It's bang, it's done. And your PB is recorded on a massive whiteboard.
Didn't you also do like a seat order in like who?
Yeah. So if there wasn't enough space, you could kick people off depending on where you were on the ergo board. So the better people got the ergos if there's too many. So it's always like, yeah, so basically you do every single ergo facing this massive whiteboard with everyone's name and everyone's half hour. And my first year, I was like, I'm just going to beat this person. Bang, done that. I'm going to beat this person. How far up can I go? Who can I beat? And like you see in the names of like, as I said before, like the people that won the Temple the year before and the people who I'm starting to row with. So Morgan, Gibbs, Warbrick, Glover, Stanhope, all the big names like Sam Nunn start to come in as well. And like, you're like, okay, how am I doing compared to them? Like Morgan, I always used to use Morgan as my like almost litmus paper a bit, like because he was a year older than me, but we were similar on the ergo. So I was like, okay, Morgan's done this. Can I do that? Can I beat him? Can I be ahead of where he was last year, sort of thing? So I used that as in my first year at Brookes and managed to get myself into the first 8. Through some unknown reason, I don't know. But we got there, so. We got into Henley and everything was going well. Like we'd won Bucks, we were racing you at like Met and Marlow, and we're having a good little battle with the Leander lot. And we're like, okay, we're in a good place for this. I can't remember if that was the year when we raced you when we did a fixture at Henley, just before Henley. It was either that year or the year after.
I think it might have been the year after. If Tom Ford was striking out, it was the year after.
Possibly.
Yeah, I think
we did a fixture, and Henry was like, "We're gonna do 2K." I've told Beachy we're doing 1500, but we're gonna do 2K, and we're gonna see how they react. So the Leander athletes thought we would stop at 1500, and they would carry on and do the piece. So we went off. Henry just went, "Attention, go!" And he was like, before the start, he's like, "I'm gonna do it really quickly. Be ready. The moment I say come forward, be ready to go." So he said, "Come forward, attention, go." So we took about a length off the start because the Leander guys were just rolling forward, looking around, and then all of a sudden we were off. We got to 1500. I think we were about a length, well, maybe like a canvas up. And I remember talking to some of the Leander guys afterwards, and they were like, "Yeah, we thought you were going to stop." And we're like, "Oh, thank God, this has happened." And then we just carried on, and they're like, "Oh shit, we've got to go again." So we did that. They ended up beating us by a fair way because we just blasted out. But we were like, okay, these guys are very fast and they're going to go for the ladies' plate and they're probably going to win that. We're going well. We know we've got good speeds. So got to Henley, got through the days pretty comfortably, pretty straightforward. Got to Friday and we raced near us and we lost by, I think it was a half length, maybe 3/4 of a length.
They were beating everyone at that time.
Yeah, they were very strong.
Out of nowhere almost.
Yeah, that near us 8 won the Temple and then came back for the ladies next year and won but didn't win in the controversial Boris Rankov disqualification.
I don't think the disqualification is controversial.
It depends.
I showed it.
You ask.
I showed it to him the other day. It's like, yeah. The thing about it for me, not to get too sidetracked, is everyone knows, and he's been around enough to know you don't make a noise, and you don't do anything from the back.
And it wasn't once or twice either. It was many.
Yeah, we like saying it.
But gutted for the boys because obviously they had a great
But it's so funny to hear about that fixture because I actually remember like walking down to the club at that point, and I saw a few of the guys in the A walk past, and they were just like absolutely had like looked like a dog just pissed on their shoes or something like that. And I was like, what's happening? And they're like, well, we raced Brookes, but like it wasn't a very good one. And I just started like to cheer them up or whatever, and they're like, no, you got to read the room here. Like it was bad.
Yeah, but that's the game. They won't get caught off.
Ready.
Exactly. Off the start again, will they? Yeah,
they didn't. But yeah, so we did that. We lost at Henley, and I was like, that was pretty gutting. So that was my first ever race at Henley as well, or first ever campaign.
Yeah.
And yeah, like we'd spent the whole season basically not winning everything, but because we were getting beaten by Leander at that point. But we knew they were fast. We knew they were very fast 8, so we were like, we should have won that. We could have done it. And then to watch Nearas go and wipe the floor with everyone in like the Saturday and Sunday, it was like, that could have been us, but we had our final on the Friday. So that was tough to get through that. And then it was like, basically throughout that year, we'd done the normal under 23 trials and the pairs. And Brookes at that point didn't really care too much about trials, really. It's kind of, you just turn up in a pair and you just have a go, and you kind of just focus on Henley.
You wouldn't do any like a week before?
We'd do about a week before, but not massively. It would be like, the week of trials was coming up and be like, okay, we'll jump in a pair and we'll just see. It does, again, Henley was like, I don't really care about this too much. We're kind of doing it as a formality so you guys can do some bits. The attitude has changed now. Now we've become more of a high performance program. It's now you spend a lot more time in the pairs. But yeah, back then we kind of just do it, and I was doing okay. It was my first year as an under 23, so I was still quite new to it all, and it is a big step up. You suddenly racing against potentially people who are 3-4 years older than you, who are just men. So we did the seat racing. So there's 2 sets of seat racing. There's one in just after April trials, and that's basically GB club based people. And then after Henley, there's seat racing involving the external people, so like the American athletes. So I did the first wave, and it went all right. Nothing crazy. Like just a solid middle of the pack sort of effort. And I remember quite a few of us got invited to the April, the after Henley final trials seat racing. And I remember Henry came up to me, and I think it was Mike Glover, and was like, because we were both basically, like I was in my first year, Glover was in the second. He was like, look, you guys, you've got plenty more chance at under 23. I think you should just focus on getting Henley done and then just enjoy a bit of time off. And like really focus down on that, because you can do Henley and be focused on 2 things and maybe lose both. So at the point I was like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. And well, looking back at it now, it definitely makes sense. I think I wouldn't have made the team.
Yeah, I think that's super.
Yeah,
super good advice to give. I think a lot of people. Well, the sort of conventional thing now is saying if you want to get in the team, you want to punch in
exactly
halfway.
Yeah,
you don't want to slide in the ball.
Yeah, you don't,
because
then you're always down there. Yeah, exactly. So he actually made a very good call, and it was like at that point, Morgan Boulding, who's obviously very good, and he was a year above me anyway. He was coming towards the end of his under 23 career, but like he was starting to suffer from back problems, so he missed the first few sets of trials. So I was still on stroke side at that point, and Henry was basically like, I'm gonna basically let Morgan have your slot in the seat racing. And I was like, yeah, that's fine, because again, as I said earlier, like I used to compare myself to him quite a lot, and I was like, he is better than me. I know he's better than me. That in my head, that was fine. So yeah, we raced Henley, and then I was done. I was like, oh, no more rowing. And I don't think I missed too much. I think they did the 8, and it was a bit of a mixed sort of group of people, and I think they came 5th, 6th, maybe. I didn't do amazingly. So I didn't really feel like I missed that much in my first year. Looking back at it now, I would have been like, oh, it would have been really cool if I'd done under 23s every single possibility. But I did 3 of them, and I'm more than happy with that. So yeah, I did that first year, and that first year was basically just focused on Henley and trying to win that, and we didn't. So suddenly, like, I came back in the new year, and I was like, right, I've got my goals now. now I'm going to make under 23s. Now I'm going to do Henley, and we're going to do both. And I think no one really left from our 8 who was there in the 2015 year. We all came back because we all were fairly young. So we're like, okay, this is it. We're going to, every time we go out, we're going to try and beat the Dutch. We're going to imagine it's near us and we're going to just push off them, like regardless who we race, whether we're like racing the third 8 down at Wallingford or whether we go to Ghent, which at the time when we went to Ghent, near us kept turning up. And we knew like in 2015, when we raced near us at Ghent, we beat them by about 4 lengths on the Saturday. We raced them on Sunday, we beat them by about 2 lengths. And I remember one of the Dutch guys in the near us 8 went, see you in 3 weeks' time.
Fuck.
And yeah, then they beat us by a length. So throughout that 2015-16 season, we were like, okay, we're not going to get turned over. No one's going to beat us at the start. So I think that's where we went wrong in 2015, was that we just got led. And they didn't take any more distance. If anything, we started closing in on them, but we just got led. So we're like, right, no one's going to touch us at the start. We're just going to go. We got to the point where we could get about a length on everyone, and then we just kind of sit there because we were lazy. So we'd done the job, you know, a length in the 8, and you're not really coming back from that. So yeah, that summer of 2016 was all very much like, we're going to win this completely. We saw Harvard were coming over for Henley, and we're like, right, this is it now. This is a big US versus GB. I think it was a really big one for Henry because he lost in the Temple final to Harvard a few times. So he was really invested in it for us. And yeah, we were fully ready for it. The sea racing and the pairs stuff for trials was going quite well. Again, I was another year older, so my scores were getting faster on the ergo. I was getting stronger. I was getting more used to actually rowing. When I first came in my first year, I still wasn't that good at rowing. I got the basics, obviously, but it was Henry gave me a very good bit of coaching, which is still shouted at me today. We're doing a piece at Wallingford, so like side by side, 2 8s. We're going through just about around the corner by the K mark on the Brookes Straight. I had a look out at my blade for probably like the 30th time in the piece. Henry just gets on the megaphone and goes, Aldridge, stop looking round, put your blade in and pull. You can. I was like, okay, yeah, okay, I've got to actually focus. So even then I was still rowing pretty badly, and like everything I was just progressing all the time. And again, I was still keeping to my attitude of like, who can I beat? Who can I stop trying to catch me up? You know, I'll get on the ergo, look at the board and be like, right, that's what I'm going to do today. That's the score I'm going to do. If I can pull this score in a half hour, that's going to put me 7th. And this isn't a very good day for me. So if I can do that on a bad day, then if I do a good one, I'm going to be even higher. So I kept taking that attitude of like, I'm just going to beat whoever turns up. And yeah, I don't really remember too much about the seasonal testing of it. I just remember finishing Henley, winning Henley, and like being like over the moon. Like this is something we've been working for as a group for so long.
Yeah.
What was the final?
That's that photo. I think that you are stroking it, right? Is that the photo in the Brookes gym?
That's an old one. That's in the 4 from 2021. Yeah.
Okay.
There's 7 of them. There's a lot. No, the very first one was Brookes Harvard final, and we beat them by a length and a bit, I think. Nice. So that was very satisfying to be like, yeah, we are up there. And after the first year, we started like really rolling against the American universities rather than just like the British rivalries we've got, and like Leander, Imperial, UL, Newcastle. It was like, okay, what's happening in Europe? What's happening in America? So I finished Henley. It was really good. We had a great time. Went on the night out on Sunday, as you obviously do. Turned up to Caversham the next morning, just blazer on, just tied sideways, sleeping in your car. Like, right, let's do some seat racing. And again, it brings back to the point we were talking about earlier. Is like, you got to have fun with it. You know, if we'd just done one Henley, and be like, well, I've got to be really serious for under 23s and the seat racing. It'd be miserable. But we all went out. We had a massive time. I think Spratley put his car behind the bar at Leander. It was like basically just free bar all night. So yeah, we had fun with it, and we turned up for the seat racing the next day, and it was like, okay, it's 2016. We were looking to do the Coxed 4 as like a Brookes project. So it was in Rotterdam that year. So it was my first ever under 23s. And all season we were kind of looking like, let's do a Brookes Cox 4. So it was Glover, myself, Morgan Boulding, and Roy Gibbs. and Brightmoor coxing. We're like, okay, we've got a Brookes unit. We're all under 23s. It's Morgan, Harry. No, sorry, it's Harry and Gibbs's last year. Morgan's got one more. Glover's got one more. I've got 3 more potentially. But like, let's set out a stall. So we went to Bucks in the Cox 4. We're like, we knew Shep's going to be here. He's going to watch. Let's send a message. We don't care. We don't care about anyone else. We know we're going to win this. How much can we win by? I think we ended up winning by like 200 meters. And we were just like looking at the back when we finished, just like, there you go. This is us in the Cox 4. Wow. Send it. And he did. But after Henley, Morgan's back went completely. Like he was, I remember him racing Henley with basically gearing was rigged right down. He was taking like so many like ibuprofen and paracetamol. We're doing like an AK session before Henley and then going out, and we'd carry on and do the rest because they were just trying to protect his back for this one race. And obviously it worked, so very grateful for that. But that meant he was done. He didn't do any more because it could have really jeopardized his career. And obviously it's a very good decision. And I'm sure he doesn't care. But it meant we suddenly had this really strong Brookes unit. And we still had the 4 of us. So Mike, myself, Rory and Harry. But we had some guy from UL, a guy called Chris, come in. He was pretty good. But obviously at that point, Morgan was basically the top stroke rider in the country for sure. And probably getting on pushing for the whole team, and to suddenly lose him, and it's like, right, we've got a big gap to fill. Because if anyone has rode with Morgan, he is incredibly strong, and like in the end and the start of the race, untouchable. In the middle, he just lets everyone else work for him, but you get him into a sprint and it's outrageous. Like he's finishing his 5k doing like 1:13s, like just sprinting. It's ridiculous when Morgan turns it on. It's incredible. And then Gibbs as well, in his own right, he is incredibly strong. Even back then, Gibbs' whole thing was being really strong. Now he's really strong and really technical, but back then he was just really strong. So in a Cox 4, it works perfectly. And obviously Harry, being a really good Cox, he could get us together. He'd been with us for years. He knew exactly how we worked. Glover, very good technical rower, very built for a Cox 4 as well, big, strong man. And me just bashing around, having a great time. So that was our plan, and it didn't work. But we were like, okay, we're still pretty much the same people, and we went out and raced, and we won our rep. So we were second in the heat, straight into the rep, won the rep. So we're in a good place. We're like, okay, we could get a medal out of this if we get it right. And I think the final was just a bit like, I think none of us were prepared for the step up at international racing. It's the step between heat / rep or semi and final is enormous when you're not used to it. When you're used to it, it's kind of like, it's a final, you get yourself up for it. But when you're like, for me, it was my very first under 23. I'd done juniors, obviously, as we said, but the step between junior and under 23, where you have people who race for the work, like some people on under 23 setup are in the senior setup as well. Like, so the step between semi and final was huge, and we kind of just got blown away.
Yeah, I think for those more senior athletes as well, like there's if you know you're coming in fast, there's a little whole bit cast to their chest.
Yeah.
So you think, okay, I've done the heat and the rep, we know the speed, it's all good, and then all of a sudden,
I remember 2 things from that race. I remember the Kiwis being classic Kiwis and being the same speed the whole way, and being like 5th at 500, and then winning by like a length because they just blasted through people. And I remember we sat up on them. I think we sat in 3rd for the vast majority of the race. And then the Kiwis came through, and I remember the Italians going to like 42 at the halfway line in a Cox 4. And I was like, okay, they've gone. And then all of a sudden, the Kiwis, the Australians, and the Italians were just battling out for medals. And it was kind of like, we didn't give up, but when it's kind of like everyone has gone, and it's sort of just like, it just slumps. And it's, So disappointed to not come away with a medal, especially for like Rory and Harry, who was their last chance. And if we had Morgan in, we definitely would have got something. Not blaming Chris, he did incredibly well, but it was, for me, I was really happy. I was at first under 23s, it was 2016 as well. So it was when they did the
Super Worlds.
Yeah. So the seniors were there too, and the juniors were there. It was a big odd thing. It was great. First time I ever met Christian, didn't know who I was, didn't really know who he was. But yeah, no, it was for me. I thought it was amazing, and it was like, yeah, this is it. I definitely want to do this now. Like, I still cared about Henley, but it was like, this is now the next thing. I've tasted. I'm going to get a medal next year. That's what I'm going to go for. So yeah, finished the season on a good note for me, like 5th place in the Coxford. It was great, nothing incredible, but you know, that's very solid result. Came back in 2017. Again, it was a similar vibe. I was like, okay, I'm a bit more established as like an older guy in the team now. So I was in my 3rd year studying, which obviously means Brooks, you've got another 4 years left of rowing. So, so yeah, I was basically just finishing my degree. At that point, I was kind of like, I'm fully in for rowing now. The degree is kind of slipping, but as long as I finish, that was fine. And yeah, it just became like, right, we're gonna do ladies now. We're gonna win the ladies because we can't do anything else. Like, again, no one really left from the Temple winning boat. Again, there's changes here or there, but it was like, okay, we've got a core group of us. Again, like myself, Sam Nunn, Glover, Matt Nartive, Robbie Massey.
That'd be good if you
have Robbie Manson. And,
just to say, the ladies plate is what we're talking about, which is men's intermediate age at Henley.
Yeah.
Just because I think we've listened to ourselves back
you
talking about the ladies plate.
Yes.
So what does that mean?
Me and the group of boys just went back to do the ladies the next year. Like, what does that mean?
That's very dangerous. So we were all on board. It was like, again, another group of sort of like 8 or 9 of us, and we talked. I can't remember if it was.
So is this because if you've won the Temple, you can't do it again?
Yeah. If you win the Temple, you are not eligible for any more student events. So even though we are all students, we've basically overqualified ourselves.
Yeah.
So if you win the Prince Albert, the Cox 4, you can go up and do the ladies because they can't. You can go up and do the Temple because they class the Temple as being slightly above. Yeah. But you can't regress. So because we'd won that, our only thing was we either break down into 4s, which we looked at a little bit, but we don't really do 4s. We do an 8. We're a pack. We stay together. So like, right, we're going to go for the ladies. And it was like, right, we know we're going to have Leander. We know Neras are going to be there. We know sort of GB do their under 23 development plot. So again, straight from that year, we're like, right, let's just get on board. Let's crack on. We were talking a bit before we came on about luck. And I said, one of the bits of luck is that I had that bit with the junior program with Robin, where he was like, this guy's good at sweep. I had a bit of luck in who I rode with at Brookes. You know, like I look at who's in the team now and I'm like, I spent my development rowing career with these guys, with Harry, with Morgan, with Rory. Like I spent all my time with them. So our cohort basically just kind of took over a little bit. Like that sort of 2016 onwards is when Brookes basically just won everything we did. Like I don't think I lost a race in an 8 for years. Not like on a domestic level. And it was because we just kind of just dominated. We all had the same drive. We weren't just like, okay, we've done this. That's great. Let's just look to win Bucks. Let's look to just win Henley. It's like, okay, what can we do? We want to be the best state there is in the world. We want to be the best state in Europe. We want to take on Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Washington, all California, all the big American names. We want to be like, yeah, we're better than these guys. Just because they're in America doesn't mean they're any good, you know? So we basically just were like, right, let's go. Let's send a message. And the 2017 year, it was going well. I was in a pair with Rory Gibbs for the assessments, I think. Can't remember. Ages ago now. I think it was Gibbs. Either Gibbs or Glover. Usually with one of those two. And it was going well. Again, you know, we sort of do solid places. You get to the final trials and like, okay, we're fighting in the C final, you know. But as far as the Brookes pairs goes, that's great. Yeah. So, you know, you've got Leander and the squad pairs taking out A and B, and then you've got Brookes having a great battle in C, D, and E finals. It's great. But then we know, like, yeah, we're not pairs rowers. We get in the 8, we get in the big boats, and we can take on anyone. Mm-hmm. So we got through Henley. We raced a development sort of under 23 boat, and it was like, for me, I was like, right, I'm going to take your seat. That was my sort of feeling. Like, okay, I'm not going to let these bunch of guys who just turned up, who Shep has suddenly thought are the best people that we've got, come and beat us. So yeah, we raced them. I think we beat them by about a length, maybe a bit of clear water. And it was like, right, okay, now on to the next thing. And that next thing for me was under 23s again. And it was like, okay, I'm now sort of 2 years out of my 4. Well, this is year 3 out of 4. I'm like, okay, I've got to start making something happen now. And I can't remember if I was seat raced or not. Again, everything kind of just blurs together, you know. You kind of remember the highlights, but you don't remember like how. But I ended up in the 8. I was in the 4 seat of the 8, and it was quite a stacked 8 like from Brookes
I
people.
was going to say how many Brookes.
Yeah, so I think the 8, looking on paper, the names in it now are pretty stacked. So I think it had Ian Middleton-Coxing from Cambridge and did a bit with Leander. Arthur Doyle was at stroke, so again, who I did juniors with, who came out of Harvard, who's very good. 7th seat was, I think, Matt Benstead.
Don't know that name.
He is Princeton guy. Was quite big in the under-23, so he was very good, like technical row, and could get on it really well. Then there's Morgan at 6. Dave Ambler was in at 5. I was in at 4. Glover was at 3. And then Ali Douglas was at 2. So former lightweight who'd been doing really well in the lightweight 4s, and he just like decided to go heavyweight, and he jumped in. And I can't remember. Oh, Dave Beale-Copley was in it as well.
Oh yeah.
How many Brookes is that?
So there was Morgan, me, Glover. Actually, to be fair, there's only 3. But then Dave, both Daves then came to Brookes.
Yeah, it was after. Yeah,
after. But at that point, there was the 3 of us, because everyone had kind of aged out by that point as well. So yeah, Morgan, Glover, and me, and then you have Beale-Copley and Dave Ambler, who then joined Brookes later on, but are still in the team now. And yeah, the people that are in it is pretty stacked. And we raced the 8 in Plovdiv.
Yeah,
lovely course.
Hot.
Very hot. Yeah. Very fast. And we raced, and it was like, we came 3rd, which was amazing, because that was the first proper medal I'd ever got. And yeah, it was an incredible experience. Like the Dutch went and broke the world record, and they did like a 5:24, I think.
It's rapid.
Under 23s, and that's basically the near ass 8 from 2015.
Yeah.
Minus a few other people, but basically they had a group of 8 guys that just did everything together. And we raced, and we had a great race, and it was just like everything seemed to like work really well. We had a good start. We got out. We got clean, and for again, as you were saying, like under 23s, you have like a week and a half, 2 weeks post Henley, just get in your crew and just get on with it. And I think that helped us loads, because we were just like, right, we've got a job, let's just crack on. We don't need to worry about the frilly side. We just work hard.
It's the honeymoon period.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, everything goes well, and it's like it's an 8. We know how to do 8s. Listen to us, so you just kick it and hope for the best. So we got our bronze medal, and it was amazing. And we just had like a really good time doing it. And like that's when we started like integrating a bit more with people who were outside of Brookes, rather than it just being a closed in. So as I said, in 2016, it was a Brookes project pretty much. So we kept to ourselves, and obviously throughout the year, so we were all Brookes. But then that's when we started bringing not people in, but we started integrating a bit more with who was around. And I think it really helped for later down the line. Now I'm in the team with these guys. Like I've had a base, we've rode together before. We know kind of how each other work a little bit. And that was great. And that was at the point that my biggest success on rowing. It's like winning the ladies' plate and winning a bronze medal at the World Championships. That was incredible. And I was like, all right, what next? Well, I suppose I've got one more year under 23s. So I've got to try and be in the top boat, which at that point was always like the Cox list 4. It was always, it still was and still is. It's still the top boat. I was like, right, that's my aim all year. I don't care about Henley now. I've done Henley. Great. Let's do that. So all of my emphasis kind of went, obviously I still cared about Henley and I was still thinking about it. And the Brookes attitude was still, well, we're going to win the ladies' plate again. No one's won it 2 times in a row. We're going to do that. Yeah. So I was still like, yeah, cool, great. I'll do that. But I'm going to take the pairs rowing more seriously, and I'm going to try and get myself better. I remember having chats with Shep, being like, how can I get myself better? How can I be in that position? And start to do more of like the camps, so like the Sierra Nevadas and like the development ones they run, and did a few of those, and did a few more like training days at Caversham with like the Brookes lot and with all the other GB sort of pool of athletes. And yeah, we just took it much more seriously and like a international side rather than just being like, oh, I'm just having fun at university. It's like, okay, how am I going to break into the team? So this was in 2018, my final year under 23s.
Still on stroke side?
Still on stroke side. I was on stroke side until Christmas 2022.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'll come to that in a bit. Another bit of luck / reading the room. And so we were racing, and I was just like, right, I'm going to try and win. I just want to be in the top boat for under 23s, because at that point it was always like, you do under 23s, then you make the senior team. I was like, if I can win under 23s or be in the top boat, then come 2019 and they'll invite me into the senior team. doesn't always work like that, and it didn't work like that. But that was the plan. I was always like, how can I get into the team now? Because we were, as a Brookes unit, again, we still stuck together. So 2018, we still had Sawbrook, Morgan, Gibbs, Brightmore, Coxing, you know, all of the big names, Sam Nunn starting to join us then as well. We're all still like, all right, why can't we be in the senior team? Why can't they give us a go in the 8? Because we can do the same speed to them. Like, I think in 2018, we did a 5:29 in the 8. I was like, well, that's fast enough to like be there or thereabouts with what some of the people are doing. And, you know, you look at, you can't help it on the outside of the team if you're going quickly, looking at what the team are doing and being like, we can do better than that. Yeah. You know, like it's sort of in that post Rio era when they were struggling a bit in the team because everyone left. So they were just all brand new people who weren't used to the senior team. And we were looking at that on the outside being like, we can beat that. We can beat that 8. And our whole aim from that year in the 8 was like, how can we beat the GB8? That's what we were aiming for.
I think it's crazy to see the progression from like, can we win the Temple? Can we win the ladies? Can we beat the Dutch under 23 internationals? To like, can we rival with the GB men's senior squad?
I think in 2018 as well, we got invited to do the Windermere Cup in against Washington, and that was incredible because it was just another level up because everything was paid for by the Windermere development company, property management company, whatever it is, and that was an incredible trip. And that was our first chance to actually have a go against a universe, like an American 1B. So like the Harvard crew we raced at Henley, and the ones that come over to Henley and we race are usually like a second crew, third crew. And so this was our first chance to actually race a proper US collegiate team. And we absolutely balls at the start. Like, it was just terrible. But we came through. We didn't beat them. We lost by half canvas, I think it was, and
close enough
to be like, okay, we are here. We are actually a proper unit. And I think we started making everyone take us a bit more seriously then, because rather than just like, we're basically like, it sounds really arrogant and terrible, but like we'd already kind of transcended Bucks at that point. I think in 2018 was my last year because I split my last year into 2. Because I failed in module, so technically I split it. I think that was my last year where I was Bucks eligible, and that was the first year that Henry decided he wanted to win VL at Bucks. Normally he doesn't care about it, and we just do the 8 on Saturday, 4 on Sunday, and leave the Monday to do whatever. And he was like, right, we're going to win everything. So I turned up on Bucks, and like it was just before Windermere Cup, so we were like, we're going to put a message out to everyone. So we won the 8 on Saturday, won the 4 on Sunday, and then me and Gibbs went on the pair on the Monday and won the pair. So I was like, won everything. Yeah, nice. We won all the sweep events, and it was like, right, there you go, we can do it. Like, we kind of got to the level where it's like, we're not looking at domestic stuff now. We're now looking, what can we do at international level?
Yeah, well, domestic level on the whole in GB hasn't historically been to that high level. It's something I had through my career. You can absolutely smash Wallingford, Met, Marlow, win all of that. Yeah, but then you're going to come against Harvard or Brown,
who just constantly race at high level all the time. Yeah, for sure. And then like it's not trying to knock the Bucks scene and like the British university scene, because it is competitive and it is strong, and there always seemed to be one crew every year until about 2018 that could push us and could match us. And then as soon as we hit 2018, we stepped on, and everyone kind of seemed to stay the same. But there is still a very strong program, and like the rivalries that go on at Bucks is great. It's great fun. And like the first couple of years when it was like a Brooks Leander rivalry, or a Brooks UL, or Brooks Imperial, or Brooks Newcastle, those were the classic ones, and those are fantastic. Yeah, because you just turn up at Bucks, and everyone hates you because you go to Brooks, and it's great, and you love that because you just enjoy pissing people off.
The self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The more Brooks kit you can wear,
it's like, do you guys remember Yik Yak?
Oh yeah. So Yik Yak was this app where in your local area people could just make anonymous comments.
Yeah.
And then you could just absolutely rip the piss out of some people.
Incredible time at Brooks. Because it was a Bucks regatta, and it was all Brooks hate. And I remember the best ones were at that point the Brooks First 8 started wearing a fluorescent yellow high vis base layer.
Oh yeah.
But why was that for like first crew thing?
It was for the fixtures we do against Oxford and Cambridge as their pre-boat race warm-ups. Yeah. Henry, for some reason, I think he must have seen Washington wearing the high vis and gone, they look cool, I want that. And he went to H&M and bought 9 short sleeve lycra tops, and we just wore them one day. So it was always for like a fixture thing. We like he would give them to us in a plastic bag. We'd wear them for the fixture, and we'd give them back. And the next time we did a fixture in like a week and a half time, we'd get them back, and they'd smell the same because they'd just been in a black bin bag, just festering in the back of Henry's car somewhere.
It's the same thing like what you did at Spring Assessments. You put that GB kit on.
Yeah, you have like something to be like, yeah, this is it. Now you've made the first team for this proper thing, and we didn't do it anywhere else apart from like this one Bucks for some reason. We wore it. It's head of the river, basically the big head races. We wear them, and we wore them at Bucks. And the Yip Yak came out being like, Brookes wearing kit brighter than their futures, and I was like, oh, that is harsh, but very good. And another really good one that we enjoyed that stuck with us as like a little mantra for a while was Brookes rowers listen to Nickelback.
Oh,
Nickelback hate.
It's like, what's wrong with Nickelback? They're quite good. So those are the good ones that like to sort of fly around, like, you know, the inter-club rivalries that were just so much fun. So we basically just went in that 2018 season, again, aiming to do the ladies again. Can't remember who we raced in 2018. I want to say it was another GB development boat. And again, it was like I was eyeing up that like, right, I want to be in these seats. Again, it's weird. It's looking back, it's kind of every year was kind of a carbon copy. It was like you do the work through the season to make sure you secure yourself in the first 8. And for me, because I was always better in the small boats than I was in like the big sort of 8s. I'm always have been and probably always will be a slightly more boat mover, boat feeling kind of guy.
Well, that's because you had a roots in single sculling.
Sculling a little bit, yeah, for sure. I think that definitely helped because in the single you have to know what the boat does, and you've got to be able to feel it a bit more. Whereas if you grow up in an 8 and you say your life in like the 4-seat of an 8, you're not going to get too much boat feel. So I was never one for putting massive watts, especially when you look who I was rowing with like some of the most talented guys in the country at the time, and well, they still are. So I was
in perspective, like what sort of 2K are you pulling in 2018?
I think I was 58 at that point, okay. 558. So
sub-6.
Yeah, sub-6. So the ergo was good. I was still putting good numbers on the ergo. So Morgan and Gibbs were leading the way. Then it was basically me and Sam Nunn on that sort of 58, 57 bracket. And there was Mike Glover, who was constantly doing 6 minutes point something.
Oh.
Until he managed to break it eventually, and that was a good day for everyone. But
good.
But
it's a real barrier. A lot of people.
It really is a struggle. And then the moment you break it, it's like, how did I struggle with this so much? Yeah. So I was still leading the way on like the ergo side. I was definitely up there, but I just couldn't translate that into just raw wattage in an 8. I think because of my background in sculling and being by myself for so long, my front end was quite slow, and for anyone that's not been in a fast-moving 8, if you don't pick it up really quickly, it's just gone. And the 7 other guys around you have taken it and they've picked up the work, and you're going to struggle. And that's always how I was. I was struggling to get the work on. So I'd always be that guy that is good in an 8. I won't take anything away. I maybe won't add huge amounts until I'm really pissed off or I'm really like full-on race mode. But you put me in a pair or in 4, and I can beat most people, or I can at least go toe-to-toe with like Morgan and Gibbs and Swarbrick Stanhope. I can hold my own at least and prove why I should be in that boat somewhere in the bows, just having a great time. And let them try hard, and I'll just sit there and think of the celebration.
Nice.
So that meant that when it came to the assessments and the trials and like the pairs, I could always usually become one of the top 1 or 2 Brookes boats to do well. And I always found that I would do my best performances at a GB trial. So be on the ergo or the water. I'd usually always would PB at the GB assessment, and then we'd do one at Brookes like 3 weeks later, and I'd be miles away. So I'd always usually not save my best, but find my best at the assessments, kind of when it counted the most.
That's good. That was because of the occasion, or was it?
I think for me, no, I think it was the occasion. I didn't think I did anything different. I think for me in my head, it was always like, this is it. This is what I'm going for. If you can't rise to this, what can you do? You know, if you're not someone like people talk about, like big game players. You know, if you come to a big scenario, a big match day, big race, whatever it is, and you crumble, it's not great.
Exactly. What good are you for the team, right? If not now, then when? If not you, then who?
Exactly. All those cliches.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. But like, obviously, you can't do that all the time. And I fully appreciate that there are some people that are just consistently very good. And sometimes the way the GB system works is if you don't necessarily show it on this day, it's hard for them to see what you do if you're outside the team all the time.
Yeah.
If you're in the team, it's fine because obviously they see you every single day and they just know if you've had a bad day. But when you're in the outside trying to break in, if you don't show up on the day and like kick the door down, they're not going to look at you as much. So that was my always like, I'm going to go. This is a GB trial. I've got to go. Otherwise, it's going to get ignored.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I was always doing well in the small boats, and we again got to Henley again. Won that again, ladies plate, and that was my third one in a row. Third Henley win in a row, second ladies plate, and that was again incredible. And it was going, yeah, it was like I think we expected to win, but you know you can never. Henley is always a very unpredictable, especially when it's 1-on-1, side by side, anything can happen. So obviously we sat on the start line pretty nervous, but again I think we had another under 23 boat we were racing, and it was like we should be beating these guys, so why not? Let's do it.
So 3 Henley wins in a row. Did you celebrate in a special way? Was there anything to mark that?
And I think my celebration was the classic, you know, arms up in the air. But I'm pretty sure I really pissed off Swarbrick because he was sat behind me and my arm covered his face, like all of the photos. So I think there's me doing like this. And then Swarbrick behind me is doing something, but my arm has just covered his face. So I think he hates it, but I was in it and it was great. And then, yeah, got to under 23s. It was my final year. I was put in the 8 again. Again, this was another sort of pretty solid lineup in the 8. And so we had Rich Chambers coaching us. Hugo was our cox from Cambridge. And then you had Freddie in the stroke seat. Then it was 7 was Will Stewart.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then myself at 6, Lenny Jenkins at 5, Tom Digby at 4, Buick Copley at 3,
Stacked.
Ben Freeman at bow, and Ben Freeman at 2, and someone else at bow. I will be able to remember eventually, but for right now it's gone out of my head. But again, you look at that 8, and 6 of the 8 athletes in there were in the team in this cycle. So you know you're starting to get the names that are coming through and are rowing together more and more. So when we came together in September of 2021, we were already spent a fair bit of time rowing together, and we'd already done the cruise together, so we knew what was going on. And yeah, we raced that race again, another really good one in the 8, and came silver this time behind the Americans, who broke the world record again. So the Americans did 5:22 in Poznan.
Wow.
So again, fast course. So that's where Robbie Manson did his.
Is Poznan the one that you say is a bit short?
No, that's
No, if anything, it's too long.
no. Is the other one. It's called Kruszwica. It's where they did the 2021 and the 23s.
Oh right.
Apparently
Europeans.
Is it a bit short? Is it?
Yeah, the inside knowledge is.
I think the inside knowledge is that the last 500 isn't exactly 500. But
Terrible. Don't count them.
yeah, but like in 5:22 in Poznan on the Malta Lake, that can be very unpredictable. I've had some like 9-minute 2Ks there sometimes. Like it's like when it blows, because it's like right in the middle of the city. There's like a zoo behind you. There's like a skiing.
It's a really cool place.
I feel like 5:22 is like the all-out world record till about 2012.
Yeah, it was
like that was
yeah,
the
it was
fastest
nuts.
anyone had ever.
Yeah, I think in Poznan, I think it was in 2017, or maybe in that World Cup series in 2018. The Germans did their 5:18, 5:17.
Wow.
So they'd already shown it was a fast lake, and then the Americans, these under 23 crew, just turned up and did 5:22, and we came second with 5:24, breaking the previous world record. It was like
5:24.
Yeah.
It's super fast. And then you always go back to Brookes and like after work under 23s and like who was a better rate? Was it us or them? And it's like, well, it's hard to tell because obviously we've just done this incredibly fast time, but obviously this Brookes 8 we've been together for years and we could probably beat it. And it's like, how fast can you go if you get the right conditions? We never really got them at Wallingford. It's always like cross headwind. You go to Dorney Lake and you've got a crosswind. It's like, oh great.
Yeah. Well, to answer that question, like. To add to that question, would you row better in a Brookes 8 or in a GB8 because you would be like more chilled? That's the thing. Who's pulling more watts? GB Aldridge or Brookes Aldridge?
I think the Brookes... Oh, I don't know. Good question. The Brookes 8 as a whole would probably pull more watts. I think the GB lot made it go faster because it was that boat movers.
Okay.
And like, so you look at Freddie and Will, for example, in Stern Pair. Like, they are
Not the biggest guy.
not the biggest guys. So Freddie's 85 kilos and Will's about 84, 85. But like, they put every inch of their ergo onto the water.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm sure they won't mind me saying, but Freddie's on like 555 and Will's on a 558. But I would guarantee you, if they raced, every second of that 555, 558 will go into the water. Like, you know, whereas you get some big guy who might do like a 542, but 6 minutes of that goes into the ergo. They're just wasting so much when they get on the water. But Freddie and Will can just pick up anything.
Yeah, and then someone else has to pick up the extra weight that they're not transferring through the blade on the blade.
It's a different comparison as well, isn't it? He's saying like, is a GB crew with 2 weeks faster than the Brookes have been together all year?
Yeah,
That's what makes it fun.
Exactly. It's
Well,
like,
yeah, but I feel that's where like Brookes.
it's so
That's
much
why you can
fun.
say like Brookes could do it because like, that whole year, that rhythm, that
Everything we worked for together. Yeah, and it's like, it's not just. I think what works so well with Brookes is that you've just got so many people that will just take your seat straight away. Like, the amount of times like myself and other people get dropped into the second eight because one day he had a bad piece and that's it. Henry's like, well, you're out. This guy beat you, so therefore he's better. Like, Henry is very good at getting athletes go very quickly. Like, he's an incredible coach when it comes down to the last couple of weeks of summer, and he fully focuses on you. Very good.
Yeah.
But for the bulk of the time, like 90% of the season, he lets the Coxes do it. And again, we were very fortunate to have Harry. He's arguably one of the best Coxes in the world and has been for a long time.
he is now.
He is now, time by champion. So we've had him always pushing us on, always making us better. But like the second eight, third eight Coxes, you've still got people who've done junior worlds and like Coop and have been very good, like not college, schoolboy Coxes. And then they get into the system of like, okay, the Coxes are the ones that push everyone on. They're the ones that make it go. And then it's the athletes constantly racing each other. And as I said, with the ergo board, you're constantly comparing against each other. And we said a little bit earlier as well, Brookes don't do seat racing. Every day is a seat race. Like, we have telemetry on about 6/8, and you go out and everything you look at is how well are you getting hold of work? Who are you beating? Whose watts are better? Whose angles are doing this? Who's rowing well just on the numbers? And
It's pretty simple, isn't it? You want to be in the top boat, perform.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a consequences to your actions. Like,
you want
show me you want it.
Yeah, you want to be up there with some of the best guys in the country, and then act like it, do it, and like
Exactly. Seat racing, do you mean Monday?
exactly. Literally, you go out, it'll get boring after a while, but you know exactly what you're doing. You know, on Saturday you'll go out, you do a 18-ish K battle paddle, you come in, you have about an hour in the crew room, having your porridge, having your sandwiches, whatever it is, and then you're going out and doing 2 or 3 1500s, rate 24, 26, 28, bang, off you go. You're doing that day in, day out on the weekend. You know what's coming, you know what's at stake, because you know that if you go out and you're like, I don't really fancy it today, I'm just gonna go under the radar a bit. You can't, because you get flagged instantly. Henry, the moment you finish, Henry takes the telemetry box off the Cox, plugs it straight into the computer, and within half an hour, he's seen what you've done for that piece. So it's like, you can't hide. And I think that's what pushes it on so much, is that you don't get complacent, because
there's no opportunity to like skirt accountability. You're accountable literally every single time.
Yeah, for sure, exactly. Like, you can't. Okay, once you get a bit more set in summer, you can kind of come off the gas a bit, but even then, like Henry has a saying, like, you're not in a boat until you're at the start line, and even then I can take you out.
I love that.
It just stops people getting complacent. Like, as an instance at Brookes maybe 2-3 years ago, one of the guys was in the Temple 8 all year right up into the summer Wimbleball. So we go on training camp to Wimbleball Lake sort of usually twice a year, once in about January time, which is miserable, and then once in about like maybe 2-3 weeks before Henley. There's like a finishing camp, which is miserable, but it's fun because it's sunny. And yeah, literally up until that like sort of 2-week window before Henley, he was in the boat, didn't have a very good Wimbleball camp, straight out, and didn't make the boat for Henley. Because some guy, he had a bad to average Wimbleball, and some other guy absolutely smashed it. He was in the second 8 and swap over.
That's how it goes.
Well, this is the thing. If you're on form and then you're absolutely smashing it with 2 weeks to go, should you keep your seat because you've been like doing well all year, or is it because you're on form now? Like, what's going to matter more at the start line of Henley, right? Like, are you going to win the race, or have you just had a good season?
Yeah,
like,
it is a bit of both. It's sort of like, you can't suddenly just rewrite the crew 2 weeks before Henley just because some people have had a really good one. But then again, if it's been a tight decision all year, then all of a sudden someone's coming off it, be it because they're tired or they're having a bad day, or just even if it's nothing to do with them necessarily actively coming off. Like, if someone's better, then they're better, and if they make the boat go faster, end of the day, that's what it is. It's really brutal, and it's lucky. I'm very fortunate I've not been on the receiving end of that, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a results-driven program, and it's there to win Henley. That's how the university gets assessed, and that's how they get the funding. Is how they do at Henley, and
ultimately, it's his job to make the fastest crew.
Exactly.
And if he didn't do that when that thing came, like that's what you've all asked him to do. I want you to be the fastest boat. Hopefully, I'm in it.
Yeah,
but like your job is to do that.
If it's done in a fair way, then no one's going to have a problem with it. It's only like when people start picking sides or there's like some personal like leaks and stuff coming in. So like otherwise, like if we're all here because we want to win Henley, we want to make the boat go as fast as possible, no one's going to have a problem. Even if you do lose your seat 2 weeks before, you might be a bit butthurt or like heartbroken about it. Maybe it's a better way to put it.
But being in your own hands a little bit. It's very brutal, and it's a very tough thing to try and justify in your own head. Like,
that's high performance sport.
Exactly.
You know, if you want to just go and race for one, fun, you can go and race somewhere else.
Exactly.
Trying to win something.
Yeah. Well, fast forward a couple of years to the Henley in 2021. So obviously post lockdown, quite a few of the American guys, and so this is when Brookes became the full on high performance. Like, we're going to go into the team. And it was obviously Rory Gibbs and Morgan were already in the team by this point, so they'd kind of opened the door.
So did they get taken up in 2019?
Yes, yeah, they did.
Yeah, Gibbsy was in there for Tokyo.
I think in summer of 2018, when they came up in 2019, they did like a month. I remember Gibbs actually did the first did November trial. He got invited in after November, and he was just him and Morgan, and they were joking around, and he was like, "All right, how much are you going to pay me to go up to Henry and shake his hand and say, thanks very much for all the training, but I'm not coming back?" And like, we were all laughing at him, like, you're an idiot. Like, don't do that. Like, yeah, Gibbs, mate, it's not going to happen. And he was just, one thing about Gibbs, he's so mind driven. When he said, like, he was like, I'm not coming back. This is it. I'm done. I'm going to be in the team now. Yeah. And so he literally went up to Henry, shook his hand, was like, "Henry, thanks so much for the past 6 years. It's been brilliant. I'm not coming back though." And Henry's like, yeah, whatever. Do November trials, gets invited straight into the team, doesn't come back.
Nice.
You can't write it, but it's like, it's incredible. But yeah, so this is when, in 2021, this is when we brought in, we're starting to run the Olympic pathway program. So like Digby's come, Dave, Freddie, Lenny Jenkins, Oscar Lindsay, Will Stewart. Everyone's decided rather than go to Leander, they're going to come to Brookes, and we're going to make it the high performance program. So we fast forward, we do the year, it goes really well. We basically focus on pairs for pretty much the whole year this time, rather than like the whole focus of us this year is we're gonna get you into the team. This is why we're here. Okay, at this point I've won Henley 4 times. I like ladies played 3 times. Temple one. I was like, okay, I'm doing this. Everyone was of the same mind. It's like, we're gonna win. But on a side note, it's Olympic year, so we're gonna try and win the grand. Mm-hmm. Those are the focuses. It's like, it's Olympic year, no one's going to be there. Like, from like a big international stage, we're going to win the grand. We're going to try and win the ladies. We're going to try and win this. We're going to win that. Bang, bang, bang. So we were all focused on the team. Got to Henley. Digby had spent a lot of the time injured to his back. So we got to the sort of, basically that sort of like 3-4 weeks to go, and Henry announced like the cruise. So like this was a set. And he said Digby was in the Grand 8 and I was in the Ladies 8. And obviously, Digby is better than I am. That's fine. At that point, I could take that. What I was annoyed about is what we were kind of talking to earlier, where it was like, he was out for pretty much the whole year. But because he's an incredibly good athlete, when he was in, he was very good. But my point was like, well, I've been in the whole time doing consistently good results. And he's come up and smashed it in the past couple of months, but has been out for a long time. So I was a bit butthurt at that. Obviously, looking back, it's fine because he's an incredible athlete. Yeah. He is ridiculously strong. And end of the day, it was that grand race when they raced an old Brookes alumni boat and they won it by half the course anyway, so it didn't matter. And that was the year when I did Henley and I won the ladies and the visitors at the same time.
Oh yeah,
So that's the one where I'm doing that on the wall in the 4.
that's a good photo.
So that was fun. But that was the first year where everyone came together for like, okay, we're going to sort of not ignore Henley, but that's not our focus. Yeah. Our focus is getting into the team.
That's what's going to pay your bills. If you get in, you get on funding, then you really start to make moves.
So. That's the only thing left for you to do.
Exactly. Yeah. So at that point, that was win 5 and 6 for me. And at that point, I was already like, I don't really care about. It's good. It sounds terrible, and I don't mean it to come across this way. But at that point, I was like, I don't care about Henley anymore. Like, as far as I'm concerned, Henley's just another domestic kind of race. It's
because the attraction to rowing is producing results that you haven't done before.
Once
exactly.
You've
won Henley, it just becomes
another.
Plus, John Collins said like once you've been like around the international circuit, you've gone to under 23s, you've gone to worlds and everything. Henley's just becomes another miler.
Yeah,
it's just depending on the level of the athlete. Like like Leander, and like I've got like these Marla and Met things. Like I don't know, like I don't know how many. I just open the drawer.
It's just loads.
Another one. It's like. For, like obviously at the level we were at, that was great. But I do sort of look back and think almost, how like nonchalant I am about like turning up,
and just winning. And other really people, take it for granted.
An A final at Marlow for a club row
is massive.
Is huge
because that's a Henley qualification.
And it's not arrogant. It doesn't sound bad to say anything like that at all. It's just your, if your goalposts shift so much, there's nothing wrong about like having aims which are beyond like what most people are currently capable of doing and everything.
To open a bottle of juice.
We got there in the end.
It's about your lack of power.
No, but this is the thing. Like it's not arrogant to say if your dreams are so big and they like surpass most people's dreams and they go way beyond that. I don't think it's arrogant at all to like
shifting goalposts, as you say. Like it's I don't know. I do feel bad saying it because it's that like it's the one thing that most people, rather than the club rowing scene, or especially in the British club rowing scene, kind of dream about all the time. And they're like, to even qualify for Henley is such a huge thing. And like obviously, if you're on the women's rowing side, it's even bigger because up until recently, Henley has obviously been virtually a men's event. With like the only available women's events are the internationals.
Yeah. And the schoolgirl,
And the schoolgirl, but now they've come a bit more general. Like, to even qualify for Henley and whoever you are is a huge achievement. So that's why I kind of feel bad being like, I've won it 5 times. I don't care anymore. Like, I kind of got to the point when I was told I was in the latest plate boat again that I was like, I'm gonna give up. Because at that point, I'd aged out of under 23s. There's nothing more for me to do. I was like, because I had just raced the World Cup, the 3rd World Cup in Sabaudia with the
Project Paris,
Project Paris. So I just come off the back of winning a silver medal we beat the Polish 4, who reigning world champions, went to the Olympics. We just lost to the Italians, but we were leading them for 1500, who went and got a bronze medal at the Olympics. So obviously we didn't know that at the time, but I was like, okay, that was my first, in theory, senior international event. Was that World Cup, and we came second in the 4, and that was great. And then it was like, okay, thanks for that. Off you go do Henley, and like, okay, I'm gonna go do the Grand, and that's gonna be fine. I'm gonna win that, and then to be told that you're doing the ladies' plate for a 4th time, it's like, I again, that's why I feel bad because I was like, I just don't care. I don't. I'll do it, but I don't want to. I was really close to being like, just telling Henry I'm not gonna do it. Like, I don't care anymore. This isn't what I do now. Whoop, sounds terrible. But
it doesn't.
No, I do. I know, and I think it comes across. I know what you're trying to say, and like the fact that you're struggling to say it shows that you obviously are aware of it. But in terms of, it's just also for the other people in that boat. Like, if you're not 100% invested, you know what it takes. You know how much it has to do.
I think the reason. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Go on,
I think the reason why obviously Henley doesn't matter as much at that point is. It didn't matter to you as much at that point. Is the reason why you're so successful internationally now at the senior level, because like you just knew that you were ready to like go past that level. Like Jack Bowman was saying a similar thing. He was like, I don't want to be an under 23 anymore. Yeah. Like I just wanted to go into the senior. Like there was bigger goals, and like as amazing as Henley is, it's not the Olympics, and it doesn't compare to senior world championships. So like I think I think you just knew, like, inside of you, your aspirations for a senior international career, like, were just massive. And like, I'm not surprised at all. Like, I was left in a position where I could continue rowing at university, but I wouldn't be able to trial until I would move back to Poland, like in 3 or 4 years' time. And I was like, well, as much as I love rowing, I'm not just training 15 times a week with Newcastle just to do Henley. So like, I can totally understand the sentiment of that, and it doesn't sound bad at all.
If your heart's not in it, it's not going to work. Yeah.
And I did the first week. I was like, Sophia helped me quite a lot. My fiance, she was like, just do it. Just, like, because it'll be fun. Because looking at who was in the boat, it was all very good people. Like, so it was like Jamie Axon, Seb Newman, Scott Cockle, Mike Glover, Lenny Jenkins, Will Stewart, like really good people, and everyone who'd already won Henley once or twice at least anyway. And again, that 8 could take on most people and win, and we won the ladies' plate by like 2 lengths. And like, it was like, we just kind of just had fun with it. We're like, we know we're fast enough to win this. Let's see if we can ruffle some feathers and beat the Grand 8 just to piss them off. Like, we know they're going to have a non-event because like we looked at the entries and they had literally no one there. So
Taurus,
we were pissing them off, saying that like it's going to be easy and you're going to win by loads. And we were just trying to beat them when we could, just because it would be funny.
That's the job of the second 8.
Exactly. And so we got to the point where we were just enjoying it. And like, we're like, oh, well, like, just have some fun. And I remember when we got to the final of that day, like we raced the 8 at maybe like 10, 11 o'clock. And then I had the 4 final at like 4 o'clock. And I remember we were already like 2 lengths up on Molesey at this point. And like coming through the enclosures, I was just chilling out. So because we had agreed, if we were far enough up, the people who were racing in the 4, so it was half of the 8 would do the 4 and the other half were just doing the 8. Yeah. If we were far enough up, the people in the 4 would just kind of chill out and just get taken across the line. I remember Scott Cockle or Cox calling out Seb Newman, our stroke man, and this was his last ever race, so he didn't care. He'd already won Henley in the once. This was going to be his second win. And he remember calling out Scott for being at like 180 watts coming through the sewage enclosure. Just absolutely chilling. It's just like, yeah, I don't care. We've won. I'm just going to chill out.
180 watts is about 205, something like that.
If that. And like through the sewage enclosure in your Henley final was like, oh, that was so much fun. Like, yeah, the project was very good fun. And I'm glad I stuck with it. And I did enjoy that. And then, then it was Tokyo happened. And then got invited into the senior team. And then that's when the next chapter started, I suppose.
Did you know that was on the cards, or was that a surprise?
I think we knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'd seen Tokyo had gone incredibly well, because it was maybe I think Henley was a week or 2 after Tokyo.
Yeah.
We'd seen it wasn't great, so we weren't sure how many people would leave. But then us being, the cocky outside the team, were like, well, they've done really badly, so they're going to need new people. So we were like, obviously, and having that medal at the World Cup, I was like, if I don't get invited in, I'm going to stop. Because I was like, there is nothing else for me now. So if I don't get invited in, this is me done. And I kind of came to terms with that. And I was like, okay. And then I got the email like halfway through summer being like, come join us and start of September. I was like, yes, here we go. Kind of started again. And I was like,
that's good. Where were you when you got that email?
I was at home. I was back at my parents' house, just in my kitchen. And I was just like, I remember just reading it and being like, yeah, here we go. This is, I can enjoy. I remember showing it to my dad and being like, I should probably start training again now. Because it was like 2 or 3 weeks after Henley, and I did nothing. I was like, I should probably do some weights.
I remember I'd been in the European 8 in 2012, so I was kind of hoping for it. I was keeping an eye on it, and I was on the holiday in Turkey. Didn't have any data. Had gone down to this little restaurant and I'd got like their Wi-Fi, and I remember it so clearly, like sat on this table, there's these 2 guys with Spanish guitars playing Hotel California.
Yeah, nice.
And then I just looked for my emails and I was like, wow.
Yeah. It was such a good feeling. And then, I kind of just took the same attitude I had at Brookes, where I was like, I'll just see who I can beat. And it's very different at Caversham. Sure you might appreciate from like Caversham to Leander side.
Yeah, I mean, Leander does run a very sort of like small GB system.
It's like, it is competitive, and it's very competitive in Caversham, but it's not in the same way. It's not every single day.
No.
It's not every single ergo. It's not every single water session.
It's more like a job, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot more time to focus on yourself, what you
about getting just better.
More time. Everyone's got money. Look, ability, like physiologists, like all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot more focus.
Exactly. It's all about it's more like you've become an investment, and they look after you now. Like they actually care about your athlete well-being rather than just being like, you know, cannon fodder. You know, you're not indispensable. Indisposable. Yeah. You know, like there's not 10 other people who are just going to take your place straight away. So it's good. It was a really nice kind of change for me as well, because it was very different to the Brookes setup in that, like, you just had so much. Biggest thing I noticed was so much time to do stuff. And you just sat in the crew room for like 2 hours in between sessions, just like, go rowing now. Why are we waiting for so long? But like, no, it was just a massive shift in kind of thinking and attitude towards rowing. It was like, okay, now I can actually work on getting better at rowing rather than just like just snacking it.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing that I'm still working on quite a lot is like that honesty with coaches and that ability to be like, I don't feel great today. Tell the coach that, and rather than getting shouted at for being like a fucking pussy and like getting dropped 3 boats, like, okay, do a steady ergo, or like, you know, we'll go on a bike, or like if you feel really bad, have the rest of the day off, come back, see how we are tomorrow. It's like we've got to the point where you're not just a number, you're a person, and they know that you go up and down and you can't be on your best every single day, but as long as you're in the best when they want you to be, it's fine, and whatever else happens through there is just normal.
That makes sense.
Or just like have the confidence or the trust in you that obviously you're not going to be here and be like, fancy a day off.
Exactly.
Like,
we're here for a reason, you know. Yeah. And then, sorry,
I was gonna say, like, do you still get like the when did you like stop getting like the pinch me moments after like starting to train at Cav? Or was it not like that for you?
No, it was. So
because you always spend time at Cav anyway. Like you do
bit,
training weekends and under 23 weeks, so it's not like brand new.
So you do little bits there, and when you do under 23s, you're at Cav. And it definitely was. It's one of those weird ones where it's like, I know my mum always says it to me. It's like, you must be so amazed with what you've done. I'm like, you are, when you stop and you step back and you look at what you've done, and you look and like, yeah, I've won a World Championships and I've won 2 European Championships and I've done all of this, and it's like. But when you're in it, you're like, okay, this is my job. This is why I'm here. Yeah. I'm here to win stuff. I haven't come just to have fun. Obviously, that's part of it. But I remember the very first time I went to Caversham was a massive, like, whoa moment. So I was like this, like, 17-year-old kid who obviously, like, massively big rowing, as well as, obviously, when I was still a junior, and, like, a little kid from the South Coast. And I went in, and it was one of the random junior training days, like, probably one of the ones that happened just, like, a couple of weeks ago. And I did it, and I was like, I went into the change rooms, and there was Alex Gregory. I was like, oh my God, I'm getting changed next to Alex Gregory. This is so cool. And then I went downstairs, and there was like Tom Agar and Hodgie on the bench pool, just smashing like 120 kilos up. I was like, whoa, these guys are so strong. And I was like, I was just so in awe of everything. And like, obviously, in Caversham, they've got all the pictures of everyone, and all the Olympic medalists are on the wall, and they have their pictures and their names, and just being in that was like, this is amazing. And I think that's when I was like, yeah, that's what I want to be. I want to be at that level. I want to be that. And it's weird to think that now there might be someone out there that would come to Caversham or would like see me and be like, whoa, this guy, because I'm rubbish.
I think you'd be surprised. I think we've already had people.
The imposter syndrome of every high performance athlete.
It really is, because like you don't. So I remember when before the World Championships just gone, we had the BBC come down and do an interview, and one of the questions was like, how do you obviously deal with the pressure of being in the 4? It's like, I've hinted on it already, but it's like, I don't see the pressure because I don't see myself as that massive name. Like, you know, the GB Men's 4 has always been the flagship boat, basically since Barcelona in like 92, and it's always been like the best people have been in the boat, and it's always the massive names. I don't see myself as that. I just see myself as some kid that's still just rowing.
Yeah, I've always thought it in the way that when you're outside that system, when you're a kid, when you start rowing and you see these guys. So for me, when I was looking up at like Hodge and Reed, it's like they're gods. Yeah, like, these are exactly. Like, these are inhuman. Like these guys are like absolutely above it. And then you find yourself in the system like training outside.
It's just normal.
And you'll never ascend you'll never be like, well, now I'm no, I'm me. I shit round and I bleed red.
Yeah.
Like I'm just human.
Rowing, and I don't do all the bikes when I shit.
Yeah. So it kind of, like you constantly, every time you up yourself, you kind of almost bring it down to you, and you still think you're just you. Yeah, I've had the exact same.
It's such an odd one because it's like, maybe there is someone out there that's looking at me and be like, wow.
There absolutely is.
But
Dude, you're in the GB4.
Yeah,
like,
I know,
of course.
you just don't see it.
Like, that's like for you. So I sort of laughed, like, you can tell kind of from a British Royal, like when they came up, like, who's the GB4 for you? Like, is it like, it was, Sydney or whatever, or
Mine
like
was the 2012 one.
There you go, yeah. So Hodge, Reed, Gregors, and
Tom James.
Yeah.
I love the one where it was Hodge stroking it, George Nash, Mo, and Gregors. I really like that one. It was like a 2016, 2015. No, it was like
the Rio. It was Eggballette in 2015. Because then I think Hodgie got Glands with and then they brought Stan in.
Yeah. There was that. It was that one. It was good.
Yeah, it was nuts. And so I just see myself as that, and it's weird. So. Yes, the pinch me moment does go, but when you step back and look, it's like, I'm actually still doing this. So I got through my first couple of months, and I was like, I did well. So I was meant to do the pair in November, because obviously everyone who goes new into the team has to do the November trial. I was meant to do the pair, and I was meant to be with, I want to say James Robson, I think.
Okay, he's Battleside, right?
He's strokes. No, it can't have been Robson because he was stroke side at that point. I was still stroke side at that point. I was with someone. I don't remember who. And then they got injured or ill and they had to miss it. So I was just thrown in the single. And I was like...
Flashback.
Literally, yeah. I was like, okay, I can do this. I did it as a junior. It's fine. So I went in and I did it. And I got PB on the ergo on the day before. I did a 5:52, I think.
Nice.
So I got a PB and I was like, okay. My first ever trial as a senior athlete, and it's gone well. I've got a PB, perfect. Now I've got to go do a single. Who knows what's going to happen here? And I remember being set off behind George Bourne. Behind Matt Hayward, ahead of George Bourne. And I was like, if I can just stay ahead of George, I'm going to do all right. I was like, I don't know where I'm going to come. I'll probably do really badly, but if I can stay ahead of George, who is very good, I'll be fine. And he didn't catch me up. I was like, this is great. And just keep going. I was like, I got around the corner. I was like, it still hasn't caught me up. So I was like halfway. I was like, okay, he's maybe moved a little bit, but not much. And I was just still going. I was just tapping it along. We finished. And then de-rigging my boat, I put it away. And everyone came up to me and was like, good job, Porter. Really good. I was like, what? I didn't fall in. And then they're like, yeah, have you seen the results? I was like, no. They're like, yeah, you came fourth. I was like, oh, nice. So that was, I think, like Jack Burns won, I think. Then it was George Bourne. Then
would have been like Seb maybe, or
might
John
have been
Collins.
Seb. No, Collins had done
Barras maybe.
No, so it was sort of the newer people.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah,
I think it might have been Seb. I came fourth. I was like, I beat Matt Hayward, and I was like, yeah, this is great. That was just kind of just nice to do it again, muscle memory, you know.
That's it. Just to put that into context, so George Bourne has won like final trials in the single, I think, this year, like in April trials.
I don't know if he's won, but he's definitely like top 3, top 4.
Yeah, he's an incredibly talented, gifted, and fast sculler.
George is very good.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's what I was like. If I could
do, what was it, 2009 when I went to Hazelwinkle final trials, and 10 days before my pairs partner, I don't know how he tore his Achilles or something. So I turned up in a single, and absolutely dead last.
That's what I was expecting. I was like, I'm probably going to get smashed. So that's what I was like. For some reason, they've thrown me right up the top because my ergo's all right. So I was like, if I can just stay ahead of George, or if I can not let him catch me too soon, I'll be all right. And then all of a sudden, it went really well.
It's a pretty good pace boat to have.
It was a really good pace boat to have.
But you've got to have this. That's well it's said.
Yeah, you got to do work. So that's why I keep telling Matt Hayward that I've never lost to him in a single, which is quite fun. And he's never beaten me. But yeah. So we got that November trial where I was off on like a really quite high note. I was going really well. We went into the December trial, and I just did really badly. I don't know why. I wouldn't say like I did a particularly anything I could put my finger on. I think I was just really struggling on stroke side for some reason.
Just in training volume, maybe?
It might have been just being used to because obviously we were in the team for maybe 3-4 months at that point. So we were still adjusting to the higher load and the expectations that are put upon you. And the Olympians had only just come back at that point. So the team was almost back to being a full full team with everyone who went to Tokyo and the new guys, which were us. And yeah, it was just, for some reason, it just didn't click. I was with Sam Bannister, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying, like, we just didn't. We rode together loads, and sometimes we go really well. Other times it just didn't work, and that was one of the times it didn't work, and it became last. I overall beaten by the outside Caversham pairs, which is, it's not like a no, but it's
not good.
It's not good if you're here full time and all of a sudden you've got people on the outside coming and beating you. So yeah, that was tough. And then we went from the December trial to the 2K, 60 seconds 2K. We did the seat racing, and at that point the seat racing wasn't like man for man switch, it was pair switches. So it was me and Sam being switched basically every day, and we just lost 6 runs out of 6. We were the last boat in all of them. So yeah, Christmas was looking really bleak, because it was like, first year in the cycle, Christmas, that's when they make their first basically round of cuts, so they bring in a lot of people into the team straight away, give everyone a good chance, and then they start thinning it down after Christmas, and then they thin it down again as we come into the next year, and so on and so on. So yeah, I was basically coming into Christmas and being like, I've just come from having a really strong November, like being in the single, doing really well, and having a good ergo, to being like last on stroke side, to like in the trial and last in all the testing. I was like, I'm gonna go home here now. I think I've fucked this. And then I remember having a sit down chat with Steve Chatmore, who at the time was, well, he still kind of is, but at the time we didn't have an official head of men's Olympic program. So it was between Steve and Paul anyway. Paul Stannard was the head men's sculling coach, and Steve Chatmore at the time was head men's sweep coach. So I remember having a chat with Steve, and he was like, I think you've had a good season. It's going all right. I was like, I know what's coming here. It's going all right. And he was like, obviously single went really well, and you were doing quite well on the land, but the stroke side stuff, it was okay. It wasn't great. I'm thinking of moving you to bow side. And instantly I went, I know exactly what's coming here. So he's like, how do you feel about going on to bow side? And I was just like, if I say no, I'm gone. It was very much, it wasn't a loaded question, but it was very much, I could say no and say, I want to stay on stroke side. And he'd be like, great, thanks for your time. Come back in 4 years' time. Or I can be like, yeah, I'll give bow side a go. Why not? And we were talking a little bit already earlier about getting the strokes of luck, and that was one of them, because they could have very easily gone, you're not very good, like you just don't have it. But they were like, okay, you've done clearly very well in the single, we need more bow siders, because at that point I think there was 3 more stroke siders than bow siders, so they were gonna have to cut people anyway. So yeah, Stevie was just like, do you want to try bow side? And in a very loaded question in a situation like that, if they are, do you want to try it, it's not a question, it's we think you should do it, otherwise bugger off. So I was like, yeah, I'll give it a go. It's great. At
that point, did you do any bow side before to a major degree?
I'd done like a Boxing Day regatta on bow side. So I'd done like a 200 meter race once. So yeah, that was about it. So yeah, it was just a complete, I read the room, and I was like, if I say no, I'm done. So yeah, screw it, I'll give it a go. And what's the worst that's going to happen? And the rest is kind of, as they say, history, like it seems to work very well.
Yeah, how did you take to it?
I thought really badly, but I think I did quite well. I mean, I had the background in sculling anyway, and there was part of me that always thought maybe I should try bow side anyway, because I always felt like I was on a bit stronger on my outside right arm. So I thought it was all right. So my first 3 sessions were in a 4. So it was Freddie, me, Dave Buick-Copley, and Tom Digby in a 4. I was just sat in the middle and just told to kind of just get on with it. And I seemed to hold my own quite well. It felt like for the first couple of months, it felt like I just had meat for hands. And it's a really weird analogy, but the best way of describing it is if you've ever been sculling on a really cold day and you can't feel your fingers, and you kind of just hope that you feather everything. Yeah. You don't know what's happening, you just hope. And that's kind of just how I felt all the time, because it was just so wrong. I was just like, I just have no finesse. Yeah. I can do the glide, I can do the swapping round, I can do the twisting, I can put my blades in and pull, that's fine. but it's like the twiddly bits at either end are just like so clunky and just like bleh. I think it took me about 6 months to stop feathering with my outside arm. So
yeah, I was going to say, how long did they give you any like, right, we're going to give it this amount of time?
not really. So I had about 3 sessions in the 4, and then it was like, right, well, we've got to get ready for February. So I was thrown in a pair with Bug, Josh Bagaski. In a little looking back, I think is a case of like, who can we give to him to give a result good enough so we don't have to cut him straight away?
Yeah.
And okay, let's give it to Bug, who's incredibly strong, and he can just pull you along to whatever result. And at this point, Bug had already been in the Tokyo year. I don't know if you've seen, but he was quite outspoken, and he was already kind of on a bit of a warning to be like, you need to calm down, otherwise we can't have you. So he, bless him, had a really good like temperament to me learning. Like he actually he did so well in just allowing me to work it out. Like he didn't get angry, he didn't get annoyed, he didn't suddenly like snap and be like, why am I with this shit kicker? He was actually just really patient and just let me kind of figure it out, and he was really encouraging and really supportive. I remember,
to be fair, I think he had, because he was a sculler predominantly.
Yes,
Play Oxford, so I guess he's memories of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Also probably just stuck in his own head thinking about his own rowing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That wheel.
yeah, for sure. No, so yeah, I was with Bug, and it clicked quite well, right? The difference between his like just raw power. That if anyone has ever rowed with Bug or watched Bug row, okay, he's not the prettiest rower, but he is incredibly strong, and he gets hold of so much work. So he just jumped in the stroke seat, and my whole job was just keep it balanced.
You didn't steer even?
No, I had nothing. I had no responsibilities.
Wow.
No, Bug didn't like calls.
No calls.
No calls. He was like, he's one of those guys that's just very happy just to like, don't say anything.
We know the plan.
You know what it is, just stick to it. Like, you know, I'd made the odd call, like, yeah, keep going. Come on, Josh, try really hard, please. But no, he was just like, I'll steer it, I'll do everything. You just, my job is actually just sit in the bow seat and just keep it somewhat balanced. And for me, that was great. It was a bit tricky because I didn't have anyone on bow side to like follow. So I couldn't mirror it. So I was still kind of doing like stroke side leaning the wrong way, but it made the boat balance. So it didn't really matter that much. And it went really well. Like I think we came 4th or 5th at the trial, like just behind some of the people being quite a few of the squad pairs. I was like, oh, we've been together. I've been on bow side for like a month and a half at this point, and it was like going really well. And we knew that we had the trials breakdown. They give you the first half and the second half time, and we knew we had the fastest first half out of everyone. And it was like, so the first 2.5k we were leading it because we kind of just flew out and then got to the corner and we were trying to just hang on a bit. So we were like, okay, we're going into April trials now. We've got another 2 months. This is something that could go quite well. And yeah, we just kept staying together and just kept moving well. I got more and more comfortable being on bow side, and Josh was just doing Josh things and just going at it as hard as he could, which is great. And so I was just getting more comfortable and working out more how to sit in the boat for Josh and let him do his thing. And then I was getting more comfortable in putting what I could down on the water. And yeah, we got to April trials and we managed to win it somehow.
I was going to say, like, how long do you think it took you to feel like you got that finesse back?
It was definitely quite a while.
Yeah.
So I felt I had it at April when we did our final trials selection, but I was still feathering with both hands, and I was like, okay, that doesn't matter so much, you know, because there's that video of Murray and Bond, and you can see Hamish. You can see him slightly feathering with both hands. I'm like, well, if he can do it, that's fine. I can get away with it. So at that point, I was still like, I had the dexterity back, and I was back in the swing of knowing how like the finesse of it worked.
Yeah,
I was still kind of just using both hands just to get the blade out. But once it was out, it was fine.
That's so good though. Like from like, you know, struggling in like November to like winning in April. Yeah. That's like also like what a call by Steve Trapmore. Like he made a bet and it absolutely paid off.
Paid off. Fingers crossed, it's paid off incredibly well. And yeah, there was a big call for him and Ollie and Griffith. We swapped sides at the same time. So we got to final trials and we raced, and it was Ollie and Tom George, and then Bug and myself with first and second. So we won and we beat them by maybe half a length in the end. And we basically got a big margin in the middle and they came back through, but we held it off. So yeah, the top 4 athletes will technically, as of a couple of months ago, stroke siders, which is quite funny. And yeah, so we won the April trial, which I think we knew we would be there or thereabouts. If we had a good race, we knew we'd be in the right place. Again, it's the thing with Bug that he does so well is that like 250 to 750 rhythm is just so strong. That's what he does incredibly well. He would get us to the K. I would kind of take over at halfway because by that point I knew kind of what I was meant to do in the bounce seat of the pair. So yeah, he would get us to halfway. I would get us in the second half, and whatever happened at the end was fine. So yeah, we managed to win, and I remember after that we were sat down in the coach's office with Steve, Christian, and Paul Stannard, and they're like, right, we want to send you guys as the pair to World Cup 1. And I was like, oh god, no, because I was really enjoying the pair, but it was my first race on bow side, like a proper serious race. And it was like I've never done a pair internationally before, and obviously the pair is an incredibly hard event because it's just so competitive. And they were like, yeah, so go do the pair at the World Cup. And yeah, that was kind of a bit of a shock. Like the first ever proper international side of small boat racing is just another level of ferocity compared to like 4s and 8s. And obviously the 4 and 8 is its own beast. But the pairs, I remember getting quite well in our heat, or in the final even. We came 6th overall. We didn't do very well, and the rest of the team did incredibly well, and we were kind of out the back and we weren't very happy. But I remember getting to the K in the final and being in about 3rd or 4th, and then just every single boat in the field just went like everyone steps on it halfway. Like normally in an 8s race, which I was used to at that point, you get to halfway and chances are you know what's going to happen. Yeah. Like even with 4s, you know, like you get to halfway in a 4 and okay, things can still change, but you know roughly who's going to be there. I remember getting to halfway in the pair, every boat being practically level, and it was like, right, go again, and everyone just pissed off, and I was like, wow, that is another level of racing I just wasn't ready for at that point. So yeah, that was a bit of a shock to the first sort of World Cup of that 2022 season.
What's different that you didn't anticipate about racing in a pair, let alone it being your first regatta on bow side outside of, you know, domestic trialing?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just that ability for everyone to just go again. Like somehow everyone finds another gear at halfway, which I think is something that the Kiwi pair did so well when they were so dominant, was that they didn't let anyone touch them in the middle. And I think that's what works so well, and how when TG and Wingo get their pairs races right is they are untouchable in the middle. I think we obviously knew that because you can look at race data and you can see whoever holds it through the middle usually wins, but it's a different element from seeing it to doing it. And I think that's just the biggest thing I wasn't quite ready for. It's like we had a good start, we knew we had a fast start anyway, but yeah, we kind of I wasn't anticipating for being in a race at halfway, but like still in like a neck and neck race, and being like, well, we got to find something else. Yeah,
you got like races happening within the race.
Yeah, exactly.
And still, so this is how long after you swap sides?
So World Cup was in May, so yeah, probably about 5-6 months. Yeah,
that's insane. Like, there's not a lot of people in the world that can do
it's
that.
pretty crazy.
A final, yeah.
It's like the equivalent of, like, I don't know, you play right hand tennis with your right hand for like 10 years, and then you give
have another go.
5 months to swap hands and still be like competitive on the world stage.
Or like swapping from offense to defense, or the other way around, like in football within the space of the same season. Because we're still talking about the same season. Like November to May isn't that long of a time.
No,
have you swapped back since?
I haven't swapped back. No.
That's a weird one.
I've stayed completely on bow side because I know what's good for me.
I did all my under 23s on stroke side, and then I swapped sides. It was because it was only me and Satch at one point, still under 23s on our last year at Leander. Yeah, like one of you needs to swap. So they took us to the tank in Oxford, and Chris Colleton like watches me and then watches Will, and he's like,
right, you're swapping.
Tom, you're swapping. No offense to Will, but he wasn't. I think he also was just like, I'm not.
Did you notice like a difference on like your back or anything like this? Because mostly sometimes people can like swap sides and like it takes the pressure off of their back, but you've not struggled with that.
I haven't touched.
It is wood, yeah.
Touch wood. Yeah. I've not struggled too much with injury yet. I've obviously had niggles here and there. I think because I didn't rotate necessarily too much anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't move too much around my pin to stroke side. So I don't think it was too much of an issue trying to swap around to go the other way. In all fairness to the coaches and staff at Caversham, they were very careful in being like, be very steady in the first month to 2 months. Like, you know, you've been doing something for 8 years, suddenly swapping is going to have a lot of stress. So I work very closely with the physios to work on a lot of rotation to my other side, and that was monitored very carefully. And they didn't just throw me in and like hope for the best. It was quite well planned out, and I had quite a few strategies in place to make sure I was capable of finishing the season and not dying.
Yeah, no, that's really good. As you'd expect the GB team to proceed like that. So, like, when you think about rowing, when you close your eyes or when you dream, is it strokes at the bow side at this point?
Now it's bow side.
Yeah,
yeah. I have fully swapped my mental picture around, but it is still. I can still do both.
No, of course.
There's a weird thing like when because you're like you hang your hat on it. You know, I'm a stroke sider, so I'm a stroke sider, and then when I swapped to bow side, it's like, well, I'm a stroke sider, like doing bow side.
Yeah.
But then I remember, I went back. I think it was final trials in 2013. Fred Gill stopped, so I jumped in a pair with Ollie Cook like 10 days before final trials, and I went back and I started running stroke side, and I was like, a little bit gutted because I was like, I'm better on bow side. Yeah. I was like, I'm not a stroke sider anymore. I was like, I'm a bow sider now, because then, and that's a weird thing, because then you learn more, you progress, you get more finesse on the one side, then you go back and you can kind of bring it with you.
You kind of keep pushing up. No, I think I'm definitely fully fledged bow side.
Yeah, I think so now.
I think now I'm fully ingrained. I feel like I'm better as well.
Yeah. Let the medal tally speak.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I feel like technically I'm better.
Yeah.
I'm a bit more suited to being on bow side than I was to stroke side.
I also noticed that as well. There's like some things that you struggled with a lot technically for some reason.
It just clicks. Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, I spend so long on stroke side, like on my shoulders are like different. Like my traps are different. Like you see was so one-sided.
Yeah.
So again, like in terms of longevity, like changing.
It's definitely good. I think
people freak out about it.
Yeah. Especially if you're like a junior and you're still developing, being able to do both sides and scull or just go down the middle is definitely so invaluable, I think.
Definitely, yeah. So World Cup 1 is early May.
Yeah.
You've done the pair with Josh Bugg.
Yeah.
Europeans are coming up.
Yes.
What happens?
So we did the pair. Didn't go great. TG and Wingo obviously won that World Cup quite comfortably. And I think the decision was made that they would. So at that point, there was 3 GB pairs. So it was me and Bugg, TG and Wingo, and Tom George and Ollie Griffiths, and Matt Rossiter and Harry Glenister. And it kind of looked at that point that whoever won in the World Cup would be the pair, and the other 2 pairs would filter into the 4 and do the 4. It didn't work out that way because the 4 that raced obviously won, and won fairly comfortably. So Ollie and Tom were given the pair. They went off and kind of went back to Cambridge and did their thing. And we were just kind of thrown back in the mix with everyone else. We didn't do any more testing after that, but it was kind of just like crew combination sort of work. So I remember we basically finished the World Cup and we went to Pangbourne and did some stuff on the river. It is a really nice stretch. Yeah,
it's a nice change for GB team to also like go outside of the cover.
Sure. It gives us a chance to get some good mileage in. So we went to Pangbourne, and basically Josh Bugg and Harry Glenister went in the pair together, and then myself, Sam Nunn, Will Stewart, Freddie Davison, and Matt Rossiter and Lenny Jenkins for a bit were kind of in and around that 4 mix, and they were kind of just swapping in and out. And I remember I sat behind Freddie for pretty much all of it, and we swapped in and out, and we kind of found the combination that seemed to work with Freddie, myself, Sam Nunn, and Will Stewart at bow. And we were basically just sort of training through there, and we had a few swaps here or there, and I think they made the executive decision to be like, okay, we're going to run with this 4. I think there wasn't a huge amount of testing with it, but I think at that point Matt Rossiter was already kind of deciding he was moving on. Harry Glenister was kind of being forced out a little bit because he is a very talented athlete, but he is quite tight in his like hips and trunk, and he doesn't quite row necessarily how they want him to. Whereas us four seem to row the same, because obviously we're all Brookes athletes effectively. We all spent that year and a bit rowing together.
Yeah.
So we already know how each other row. We know how to move boats. So they kind of just like, okay, we're gonna send you guys to Henley in the 4. So that was our first experience in the 4. It was up against the Australians, current reigning Olympic champions, and we're like, right, we're going to get done in here, because this was their first time the Aussies had raced since Tokyo, and we were just a brand new combination. I think we got together maybe 2 weeks before Henley.
Oh, not long at all.
Not long, but we're like, okay, let's just see where we are. And when we raced Henley, and like the Aussies absolutely flew out. And if you watch the video, you can see them going absolutely nuts. We were there just fairly tame, the same way we've raced for the past 2 years, fairly tame at the start, and then we just build. We didn't expect to build. We were like, there's something jumped out, so like a length, or like clear water, and we're like, right, this is going to be a long run in. And all of a sudden, they just came closer and closer and closer. And yeah, we crossed the finish line, and we lost by like a bow ball, I think.
Oh.
There's like a tiny little bit on the surge. We were coming through them so hard. And that was quite a tough one, because that was the first time Sam Nunn had ever lost at Henley, and that was my second ever loss at Henley.
Wow.
So it was like, that was so close to getting another one. But so that was actually, when we were talking about Henley didn't matter anymore. It was like, actually, this is actually quite important, because it's like, this is a different level. This is racing at Henley with a home crowd. So normally you're a Brookes athlete, everyone wants you to lose. Now we're GB versus Australia. We're still wearing our Brookes all-in-ones, but we've got, white blades. We were on a GB boat. The other crew is Australia in full-on kit. And so everyone was shouting for us. And it's suddenly such a different event almost. And I loved it. But yeah, we lost by about half a bow ball. I think the official verdict was a foot.
If it's less than a foot, they have to re-row.
Yeah.
So yeah, it must have been.
I think
foot.
Officially.
That's the smallest margin you can lose by.
Yeah.
Do you think they absolutely steamed out thinking, we're going to shut down this new combo?
I think so.
I think did too much.
Yeah, I think so. Whether they did too much or like that's their kind of their race plan, that Australian for their race plan, especially through Tokyo and through that 2022 season, was we're going to get as much distance as we can and hope it's enough.
Yeah.
At Tokyo it worked because they were 3 lengths up by halfway. When we started racing them on the circuit, so we did Henley, then the week after we were in Lucerne racing them again. And we were like, okay, we know we're quite fast, and we know that they know if we're within, say, a length of them in 500 to go, we're going to come through them.
Yeah.
Because we were like a long way down. So we were like, if we can get overlap in 500 with 500 to go, we're going to make them shit in the bed. And so that was our thought. We lost. We're like, okay, right, let's go. We're not going to lose again. Sam Nunn was really good at getting us up for that. Like, we can beat these guys. They're going to underestimate us, and we can get in their heads. If we're close to them, we can do it. And I think that was the that first race where everything kind of went to plan in Lucerne. Like, I remember, again, it was our first race together as a crew internationally and a side by the multi-lane race, and how it is the start of an international race is suddenly something different. And I remember being led by Hong Kong to 200, 250. And I remember kind of sitting there being like, are we just terrible? How are we being led by Hong Kong? And then in the space of 100 meters, we'd walk through them and completely gone. So we were just, I remember in the final, we were just sitting maybe about a length, maybe a length and a half down on the Aussies. And it was a video of, I remember laughing about it, but watching World Rowing commentary, you've got Martin Cross, and they film the Aussies, and they're filming them for a while, and we're a length down, and all of a sudden they panned the wider lens, and we're half a length up, and Martin Cross is like, wow, what a move from the British 4. I'm like, well, we didn't actually put a move in. The Aussies have just kind of blown up.
Yeah.
We just stayed the same speed. We haven't put a push in. Our race plan isn't to do pushes. It's just don't slow down. So everyone's like, wow, that push you put in at halfway, amazing. We didn't do one.
You should have been
it's
the whole race plan's built around it.
Massive push at 250. But no, we just kind of just got into our rhythm, and just Freddie set up such a nice rhythm, and you got Sam behind me doing again incredibly strong, but really get the work down. Our Brookes boy, he knows the rhythm. You just send it. And Will Stewart, as we sort of kind of said before, him and Fred really dangerous because they just don't let anything slip.
Yeah. Silky smooth.
Yeah, exactly. And we got to like the final 500 and I was like a seat or two down. I was like, right, this game over. It's on. You know, we got this. And then, yeah, sure enough, we started putting away from them, and they were not happy on the pontoon. Like, and the medal pontoon, they were not enjoying it.
Was it still the same combination? Like
Same
that
combination, yeah. So
they just beat the Olympic champions.
Three out of the 4 Olympic champions, yeah.
How's that feel?
That was pretty awesome. Yeah, it was nuts. It was like
a chance to enjoy that.
Yeah, that was a good one because I was obviously at Lucerne as well. So that was the first proper race in the senior team, away everything. Like that, my first win of anything, World Cup, World Championship, whatever. First win at Lucerne, beating 3 out of the 4 Olympic champions from the men's 4. Yeah,
on bow side.
On bow side. Yeah,
but no one's looking at you.
No, exactly. Yeah, no, it was great. I loved it, and I think from that point on, that kind of set the stall out for the rest of the season. So we went from World Cup 3 in Lucerne, we had a decent break, and then we went to the European Championships in Munich. Obviously, the Australians weren't there, but there was a new look Dutch 4 who were there, and obviously the Dutch are known for being incredibly smooth and just really fluid. And obviously the Romanians are still kicking around, and they're Olympic silver medalists, and that's the same lineup. So we knew there's still people who are fast. Yeah, we got to Munich, and we had more time to work on our race plan and just really strong, really just consistent pace. And we got to Munich, and it's just a raging headwind. It's just awful. I think when we raced in Lucerne, I think we did a 550 or 552, and then we raced in Munich like 3 weeks later, and we did about 640 something.
Wow!
It was it was about 40 seconds longer. Basically, we raced for another 250 meters. That was horrid. But we just kind of just had the same race plan. You know, it was like we're just going to go, and we're just going to get out, and we're just not going to let anyone lead us. And we have a really clear understanding as a crew about what we're going to do. We're just going to look to take an inch every stroke. So there's no big pushes, no hero moves. It's just grind people out. If they can match us, great. But we've still got more. We can keep pushing. We just have so much confidence in our ability and in what we've done throughout the year. Without giving too much of our race plan away, we just try and be consistent. We just have confidence in what we've done, and we just sort of sit in the rhythm and just let it move. And we don't try and overwork it, and we just keep rolling with it.
I think all that other stuff, the moves and everything, that's all to combat if you don't have. But if you've got a strong, solid rhythm, you're not going to mess that up with a power 10.
Yeah, exactly. Just keep staying in it and just keep grinding people out. We look to take inches every stroke, and adds up over a 400 stroke race. It's a long way. So we just try and just be consistent, just be really fluid, be really dynamic, and just let the boat work for us as much as we can. And it seems to be so even though the boat swapped between this season just gone and last season, the 2022 and 23 season, the emphasis was still the same. We still bought into the same thing, and we let the boat do the work for us, and whatever happens. If someone is faster than us and beats us, as long as we've done our best, it's just fine. We go shake them on the hand, if they're faster than us, they're faster. But if we come off being we could have done this better, or we came off in the middle, then it's a different story. Then it's why we let ourselves down. But if we can finish the race and we executed this well, we kept moving, we kept the hand in the fire, we kept inching, but they beat us, so be it. You can't be upset with that. If someone's genuinely better than you, then they're better, and that's fair play to them. You go shake their hand, well done.
Yeah, process driven. We're hearing a lot more. Lola spoke about it as well. I think that's really good to hear. It's so tight at the top now. You can't just base yourself off what other people
bigger,
are doing.
Stronger.
Yeah. It's how did we do in the race, and what can you learn from it? How can you take it forward?
Yeah,
at the
exactly.
end of the day, this one race every 4 years you want to be perfect for. So everything else
exactly.
is
just tweaking, fiddling.
Yeah.
And if ultimately someone's going to beat you on a finish line, that's mark of a true champion. You don't get too emotional about it. Okay, cool. What can we change next time?
Exactly.
You're not going to throw a massive row or anything. Okay, fair enough, cool. Next time,
for sure.
Race again.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's one thing. So Christian Falco has been our coach in the men's 4 for the past, basically, the whole cycle. And whoever's in the 4, I'm sure will have Christian coach them. He's very good, and he's very good at keeping you quite grounded. I think because he's worked with Jürgen for so long, but he's also, before that, he's had his own extensive career in coaching, and he's very good at reminding us just basically almost every time before we go out, he's you are in a very good boat. Again, as I just said, if someone beats you, we go and shake them by the hand. But I'm yet to see the crew that can do that. So it's one of those ones where it's like he is instilling that confidence in us. Like, rather than just being coaches, being like, yeah, go and win and you're going to do it and smash it and don't let them beat you. It's like, well, if they beat you, but you've done everything you can, well, they're better. And we'll find a way around that later. But for now, like, he keeps saying, like, we want to answer the questions before they've been asked, which is a really good way of approaching racing and training. It's like, we're not just sitting there, especially now we've become, Fred, for example, the men's 4 has been 2-time world champion now. They're back to back. Everyone's trying to beat us. So we're trying to be like, okay, we're not just going to sit there and just let people come at us. We're going to try and have the answers to whatever they're going to ask us, whether that's going to be they're going to fly out in the first 500 meters and we've got to stay composed, or whether that's they're going to suddenly do a massive sprint at the end. We're going to have the answers to that already because we've done it in training. We've done it in pieces, and nothing's a surprise, hopefully.
Yeah, you got to, once you're the one to beat, you got to start watching everyone else do really weird, crazy stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
Flying out the middle,
trying something new.
Yeah.
And I think that was highlighted this year as well at the World Championship. So the Australians from this 2023 season brought their full Olympic lineup back. They went full back to basics. I remember when we raced them in Varese. There's obviously GB Australia. There's a big rivalry there anyway in the men's 4. And I think after the 22 season, they suddenly stopped looking at us as like, who are these little joker kids that have come to try and beat their easy Olympic event they're going to win again, to suddenly be like, okay, these guys are very good. We've got to get back on it. So they bring back Alex Hill, who's their like sort of talisman. They're like very, very good athlete. And I remember being sat on the start line in Varese World Cup 2. First time we raced them in their full lineup in our new lineup. So Freddie, me, Dave and Ollie Wilkes. We'd already won Europeans. I know we've completely skipped Europeans. That was the original question.
That's all right.
So we'd won our second Europeans, or me and Fred had second, and this crew had won it European. So we knew we were already quite fast and a good combination. Like, we'd stepped on since that year, but we knew they were too, because they're back in. They wouldn't bring back Alex Hill just to go slowly. So we raced him, and I remember him saying on the start line, "It's good to be back." And that, like, I don't know whether it was in it's really good to be back in the men's 4 with you guys racing on a start line again, because he'd spent the season before in a pair, or whether it's like, good to be back. This is a challenge. We're Olympic champions. You guys are going to get smoked. And I remember all of us were just like, all right then, come on then, let's have a go. And yeah, we just basically just a battle the whole way down. Basically, it was us, so GB in Australia, and then there was the Americans in there too. But they came third, and they were 3 lengths behind. It was basically just us.
Different race,
just going at each other the whole way down. And yeah, that was our first time we'd been properly put under pressure, because we won Europeans by like Clearwater fairly comfortably. And that was the first time where everything fully clicked in the combination. It was like, right, this is good, and this is fast. And yeah, we're just going at it through the middle of the race. The Aussies blasted out. We kind of went with them because our plan was to go out a bit harder and to see what they've got. We're just going side by side the whole way. And we got to about 500 to go. And I think we pulled out 3/4 of a length lead. And we were just starting to move. And then I just see Alex Hill and Spencer Turren in the Australian boat just absolutely yanking on it. Like, they're really strong, not necessarily the nicest technically, but they really get after it. If you ever want to watch someone giving it full effort, watch those two.
When they're trying to beat
when
you.
they're trying to go, yeah. And they absolutely haul on it. You can see them just like ripping the rigger off, like humping on it. And the Aussie bow just coming closer and closer. And it's like, okay, we're going to have to go again. So we find another lift, and we managed to hold them to, I think it's like canvas in the end, maybe like half a length. It got very close. I was like, that's the tightest race we've had. And yeah, just the emotion of being like, okay, we've just taken on the full Olympic champions here, and we have beaten them. And it's like, right, they are throwing everything they can at us now. And so we did 5:42, and
wow,
it was fast. And I remember Christian finishing like, well, you've got 2 seconds to find who can go sub 40. And if you can do sub 40, you'll probably be all right. And yeah, you're not wrong.
What's the world record?
37.
Yeah.
set by London 4.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, if you can go sub 540, then we'll be all right. So yeah, we beat them in Varese. We raced them again in Lucerne, exact same lineups for both crews, and similar story to about halfway, 750, basically neck and neck, both boats. And then we had our new little race plan, and where we just sort of basically we just not give up in the middle. And then all of a sudden we just started moving, just comfortably.
One of those, right? We're going to go out hard,
and we're just going to go hard
a bit in the middle.
Yeah, and then we're going to finish hard. Yeah. The classic race plan of let's just go really hard the whole way. We just went, and we just opened up just quite a big lead. And this is when the Kiwis first turned up on the scene. I remember sat on the start line of the men's 4 with Australia, Olympic champions. You've got half of the Kiwi boat are Olympic champions from the men's 8, and you've got the Romanians who are Olympic silver medalists. I'm like, this is a stacked field. The amount, there's 6 Olympic gold medalists on the podium. Because it finished GB, Australia, New Zealand. So out of the 12 athletes, half of them are Olympic champions, and then you got us fucking losers just sat in the middle laughing.
Henry's boys.
Exactly, and I just remember that Lucerne race again. It just clicked, and it just the plan went well. We tried a new plan, and it worked, and we moved away in the middle, and that's when we had the second GB4 as well.
And they did really well.
Really well.
Yeah.
It's again going to sound terrible, but it's coming back to me being the imposter syndrome. I remember getting up to we got to the last 200 meters ish, and we were a length up, but half a length clear water. I was like, well, we'll run this. So I started to look around to see where I shouldn't say this, but I was looking to see where the other GB boat were in comparison to New Zealand, because I knew they were fighting for bronze. So I was kind of at the point where I was I wasn't watching the Australians. I wasn't really watching where we were in the race. I was kind of just watching the race for third. I was like, this is fine. We're going to win. Now let's see how the other boys are doing. So yeah, I probably should have said a bit more focus then.
That's how Zeidler describes his races. He's like, I don't even think about my rowing. I know I've won. I just watch the others.
Yeah, exactly. So I was kind of just watching them, and I was like, finish the line. I just kind of watch the screen and be like, oh, okay, they should have done that. But yeah, that was nuts. And then so after the third World Cup in Lucerne this season, we had a big break between World Championships. So I think it was about 6 weeks. So we went off and did our 2 training camps in Silveretta and in Aviz.
We had a holiday in the middle as well.
A little 4-day holiday. It was lovely.
Holiday 4 days.
4-day holiday. It's great. But yeah, so we went off and we were like, okay, this is a big gap now. Everyone's going to work on stuff. We know the Australians are going to come hard because we've beaten them twice now by a comfortable margin. They've got to find something. And yeah, as we expected, they found something new and they completely swapped the order around. And they came to the World Championships and it's the same 4 guys, but they just re-rigged it, and they were just trying to be okay, what can we do? I think
clutching at straws a little bit.
I think it was a little bit, yeah. It's and that's why we try and find the answers before questions asked. Okay, the Aussies don't swap a lineup to go slowly, so we were okay, they found something new here in this new lineup, and okay, it didn't work for them because they did the heat and they nearly didn't qualify to the semis, so they swapped it back, and they had they swapped their rig mid regatta.
Oh, that's the worst thing you want to show from your point of view.
Okay,
they're
done now. Yeah, and we've got quite I don't know if to say close, but a good working relationship with the Aussies guys now, and we were doing our warm down walk after the semi, and it was the weather in the semi was awful. I remember we were walking and we bumped into one of the other guys in the Aussie boats, and yeah, that was terrible. And it's going well when you swap your rig halfway through an event. So I think they at that point had resigned themselves to being we're having a bad time here. And we were just we'll just let you do whatever it is. We're just going to focus on us. And I have no doubt that when it comes to this season, they'll fly again, because they're Olympic champions for a reason. They're incredibly good, and I think that was just a bit of a blip for what happened over summer, because look at the World Cups and they were right on us the whole way. And then all of a sudden at World Champs they were a long way off. So I reckon something happened in that 6 weeks where they tried something new and it didn't work. So I think I'll scrap that, and they'll be right there again next year for sure.
So how was the final?
The final was good. Yeah.
What was your margin?
I want to say about a length. I always say everything's about a length. I don't know why. I think it's I must give up when I get to a length.
As in length of clear?
No. About length. Maybe like
About a length, yeah.
about length. I think there was contact. I think there might have been a bit of clear water. It's hard to know.
About a length, yeah.
About length. Yeah, why not? I was
Like in control of it, though.
Yeah, for sure. It was. I was very nervous actually for the final. I obviously it's the World Championships final, but normally I don't get too bad, and I can convince myself. But for some reason, when we were racing out in Belgrade, where the World Champs were, it was so washy because everyone. For those that haven't been to a major championships, like everyone trains on the same 2K stretch of water. So you've got like 100, 200 boats at the same time doing their 2K warm-ups, their pre-paddles, and it's just a washing machine. It's so bouncy. You just can't get anything done. And normally we like to take confidence from what we do in the days before in the pre-paddles to be like, yep, we're going well. It's going really fast. And we just couldn't, in my head, I couldn't get that because it was just wobbling all over the place. And obviously it'd been a big 6-week stint since we had done any rowing. And it was, have we just gotten worse? Because it's always hard to tell because you have nothing to compare against. And all of a sudden we're just rolling around and rowing really badly. So I got into my head that we were like, we're going to really struggle because, and in the semi-final as well, we were being led by New Zealand for 1,000, 1,200 meters, and you don't normally ever get led. And it was like, we only just came through when it got flat. So I was like, if it's rough, we're going to really struggle because we've just been rowing really badly. Luckily, it was flat, so we were fine. So yeah, I was really nervous on the start, and obviously I knew so we had the Australians who we knew are very fast, and we were like, if I was in their shoes, they're having a bad regatta, what are you going to do? You're going to go as hard as you can. Yeah. And so we knew they would be there. We got the Kiwis who were like, as I just said, they pushed us in our semi-final and were leading us for a long way. So, and in typical Kiwis fashion, they always get faster throughout the regatta and throughout the race. You know, they normally start slowly or start in the pack, and then they go faster, or they even pace. So we knew they would have that. The Americans were in it, and you know, classic American bravado. You know, they're always going to be up for it, and they've been posting fast times, and they were the other winner of the other semi-final. So we knew they would be right on us. And then we had the French and the Dutch. The French we knew were kind of very hit and miss. I think we had kind of not dismissed them, but we knew they'd done their job in qualifying for the Olympics and qualifying the boat in the A final. So we kind of were like, they've done their fast race, they're kind of done.
Yeah, but if that's your aim going into it, it's very hard to then
find another level. Yeah, for sure. And then the Dutch, again, they pushed the Americans all the way in the semi and only just lost. So we knew like, okay, these guys are going to be right on it. So yeah, we got out very well. Because again, normally our first sort of 500 is quite, not pedestrian, but you know, we never normally lead the field. And
pedestrian, that's a funny way of putting it.
It's not for a Sunday stroll. Like I remember being like, if we can get to 500 level with this game on, and I remember getting through 500 being like, I think we were maybe even like leading, or like the Dutch were maybe leading us by a touch, or like basically we were pretty much neck and neck. I was like, okay, it's on, because I know from 500 to 500 we're the fastest moving boat. I know that because we always are. And then that comes back to the confidence of like, trust the race plan. Don't race other people. Race your own thing. Race your own race. We know that's what we do. Let's do it. Like, just because someone else is here with us doesn't mean it's a given. But if we can do our thing and trust in our race plan, then it'll work out. So yeah, we just got into the race, and we just started taking more and more distance out of everyone else. Like it was a slight crosswind, but not enough for them to see the lanes. But there's a little. You could tell there's a little bit. And I just remember seeing the Australians just fall out the back because they were in lane 6 because they only, again, bad championships, they just scraped through. And I remember seeing them just kind of fall away. I was like, okay, one down. I don't remember seeing the French at all. So again, that was 2. So then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I know we're winning. I can see we're up by about half a length by canvas, about halfway. We've just got to keep going and just keep pushing. And at halfway, that's when we have our reset, and that's when we go to like, okay, let's see what you can do. If you can hold with us, great. But that's when we're going to go, and we start pushing, and we just, that's when we start creeping through again. Like the Americans are still on us. They're sort of that like sort of 3/4 in a dangerous enough position so that you can't ignore them. But then the Dutch start slipping back, and the Kiwis start slipping. And again, it starts to be like, okay, we know where it's going to come from now. It's going to be the Americans. So we get to the last sort of 500 meters, and then you can see the Americans have gone up. We can see the Kiwis are starting to move, but we can see we're still holding them quite clear. And I remember just being like, okay, it's 500 meters, you've got 90 seconds. Let's just head down and go. We're leading the World Championships by like a length at the moment, 3/4. Like 90 seconds is nothing. Just go. Started moving. We started grinding through the gears again, winding it up, and I think the Americans moved a little bit. Or like I think maybe in that 500 we stretched out to about clear water, and then in the last 250 they came back. And I remember again getting to 250 and be like, right, well I've done the first 250 of that 500, 40 seconds. I'm going to count to 30 twice. I'm just going to count, and then you just go, and then you get to the last 100 meters. You can hear the crowd and the boys change, and you're like, okay, just count to 10, just 10, just go. And then you get to 10 and you're like, well, I can't count that high. So you go, you count to 8, and then it's like, I'll go to 4, and then I'll start again. I'll count to 4 again. It's just, the numbers get shorter and shorter, and it's just like, just sit up and just don't fuck up.
Yeah.
Just make sure you keep it clean. Just sit up and just keep moving. And it went really well. It was pretty good feeling. It's weird. It's still like, again, because it's a job. It's like, that's what we were there to do, Like, it wasn't like a huge shock, but it's obviously such a relief, especially after missing it in 2023 through COVID. It was like, it felt like it was like a redemption type thing, but it was like, it's just, that's what we came to do. We did it. We achieved it. It was good, and we did a good race to get there, And now that's it. Now we start again. We enjoy it for a bit, but we go again now.
You've had an unbeaten season, 2023.
Yeah.
You've won every single race you were part of, and also your first win at World Championships.
Yes.
So you've just made a massive step up from like switching onto bow side to then like winning Europeans twice.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you missed at World Championships, but then just to win that, like it just clears it all off. Must have been incredible.
It was. It's kind of what we were talking about a bit earlier. It's like you don't appreciate it until you have the time to step back and you have the time to look. And it was a crazy experience, and so grateful to be a part of it for sure. And no, I really enjoyed it. And it's just, again, it's weird to think that it's just me, world champion, and it doesn't like sit right. But it's crazy.
It's pretty cool. I think for those that suffer with imposter syndrome, I think it's cool to hear how you guys, like you said, trust in the process, believed you were good enough before you did actually win it.
Yeah.
I think that's what everyone could do with remembering. It's like, but I've never won a world championship before. Like, will I be good enough? Like, no, you need to think you are.
Yeah, you are. Yeah,
to make you capable.
Yeah.
To make yourself capable. So that's pretty cool to see how like you guys have like you keep talking about the confidence building, and like obviously actually having that gold medal now is like just going to solidify that. So
it definitely is. Like, I think the biggest thing that we managed to do was just, as I said, just have the confidence in our own race plan, and know that we are fast enough. And it goes for anyone doing any event or any sport or whatever. It's like, have the confidence in what you've done to push that on. You don't need to suddenly rewrite the world. Like, you don't need to suddenly pull a massive rabbit out of a tiny hat. You just do the same thing you've been doing day in, day out.
Yeah.
Just trust in the process that you're good enough to do it, because otherwise you wouldn't be in the position you're in. Yeah.
But that's still not going to stop you from having a few pre-race paddles on the week of racing and be like, have we just gone slow?
Exactly. And I know it's going to be...
Yeah, like you've done... You can like doubt yourself a few days before the race, and then you win and you're not shocked. Yeah. It's like, how does that work?
It's odd. It's so odd. It's only... I suppose that's just human nature, though. You never think it's going to be easy. You never think it's going to be good enough. I mean...
You can't be complacent.
Exactly, for sure. You just have a massive target on your back when you're in that position, so you're always striving for more. And I think it's having that person in the boat or outside the boat that can look at it with like a more of an like objective viewpoint and be like, you are fast, you are going fast, you've not suddenly gone slowly. Like, you don't see it when you're in it. So Freddie and Dave were still saying like the speeds we were doing in paddling were still really fast. Like, we were still paddling around at like 146 in the 4. It's just like, we're rowing like shit, but we're going quickly. It's like you just need someone to be like, we are still fast. Don't panic. Like we're still going quickly. We're still on the right speeds. We've not suddenly just gone slowly, and everyone is doing this. Everyone is feeling the same. And you know where it's like in a boat, like it always feels worse than it looks.
Yeah.
You know, like you can be in there rowing from side to side, smashing around, like feeling like you're wobbling all over the place. And then I remember the amount of coaches on the side that are saying like, you guys, you look so good. I was like, who are you watching? It's just not us. But like everyone's like, you guys look so calm, you look so relaxed, you're just really letting the boat work for you. I was like, well, it didn't feel like that. So you need that outside eye to be like, it's fine. Nerves are okay. Nerves are good. It's when you let it go too far is when you start to struggle.
True.
But having the nerves on the start line means you're just ready for it. It means you're anticipating, it means you're excited. If you just go up there and you have no nerves, you're probably going to underperform. But equally, if your nerves are too much, so you're like shaking and vomiting before the start line, you're going to be too worried about what's going to happen. But having that bit of like sort of like butterflies on your stomach and the nerves sat on the start line as they do the roll call, that's fine. That's completely normal.
That's what we're here for, that roll call right before the start, isn't it?
So,
Red and
attention.
get ready, please.
Poland.
Yeah.
I was going to say, how much strength are you guys drawing from like your Brookes days? And obviously as a crew, you're a Brookes unit. Like, do you think that training that you've done, like leading up to like you then turning up to the squad, like with all these boys like you used to seeing for the last few years, like how much like power does that give you? And also like, is it very much like us against the world as well, but like from sort of like Brookes standpoint as well, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, no. It does play in quite a lot. Like it plays in more into the seat racing side, because it's sort of like the easiest way to get us to gel is like, right, we're doing 1500 at one, or we're at Wimbledon with piece 3 in at Wimbledon, and like it gets you tough. So we were talking about Wimbledon a bit earlier, and we were going to ask the question what it's like. And I remember we set the record in I think 2017 or 2018 for the number of 1500s we did. So in our 4 sessions, so we basically go there on like, can't remember the exact dates, but it's basically turn up Monday, do a session on Monday, 2 on Tuesday, 2 on Thursday, 1 on like Friday, or maybe even less on. There might be 1 on Monday, 2 on Tuesday, 1 on, well, basically whatever. It's short. And we did 62 1500s in the space of I think it was 6 sessions.
Wow.
So it was like we do 10 runs every single time. We go out, no changes. Well, as in like there'll be crew changes in between the athletes. But you boat, you paddle up to the start of where we do our pieces, 1500 hard as you can at 24, spin, 1500 spin, 1500 bang, 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 10 times, and then go home. And then you come back, session 2, do that again, bang, 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 10, go, come back the next, you just repeat. And we did 62 because Henry wanted to prove a point that if you overrate, we do it again. So the plan was to do, so it was 10 per session, and then 2 extras because we overrated. So yeah, but it doesn't stop you midway. You finish the run. It's like, right, overrated, turn around, do it again.
I love that.
So yeah, that's how that it gets you hard. It gets you tough. Like you're just used to just like selling your soul and just sticking at it and just going. And I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to seat racing. Like we can just jump in and we know everyone around us has done the same training, and it just pulls us together. So I think like having the Brookes mentality of, okay, this is how we do it. We know how to do it. We know how to row together. Let's just crack on and do it. Help us so much more than like trying to get in a boat with people from like maybe 3 different clubs. And it's like, okay, what's the rhythm? What are we looking for? So everyone's like, bang, that's it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna treat it like a 1500, and we're just gonna go. And it's not really so much like Brookes against like the world anymore, because now we're fully integrated in the team. But now like when we're on the outside, it's definitely like, right, this is how we do it. This is how we go quickly, and we're gonna show you that it works in all boats.
Yeah.
So you don't have a call at halfway yet, Brookes?
No, not so much. You just keep it internal.
Or it would be quite funny to go and do like a warm-up paddle or a pre-paddle, or not a pre-paddle, but you know, like a day before, do like a paddle session, like all Brookes kit.
This is Brookes kit. We have been tempted. We've done
It's like Henry.
he really did it. Well, we did when the first time we did Henley together in 2022 when we raced the Aussies, our first race in the 4. We all wore some of Fred's Cambridge kit. because there was a Cambridge bloke racing in the visitors, and we said it'd be quite funny if we all wore Cambridge kit and got the other Cambridge bloke disqualified. We didn't, obviously, but we thought it'd be quite funny.
I had a coach at Leander who's like a die-hard Arsenal fan, and one of the strokemen one year was a Tottenham fan, and he had like a bunch of old football shirts. So he brought down 9 football shirts. And our coach came out for the session, and all 9 of us were wearing Tottenham football shirts.
Oh, that's good. It's just the small things like that, you know. It's like we all come from our different places, but end of the day, we're here for like one team, and I think like the culture we've developed between us, like the new guys and the Turners from Tokyo, have like gelled really well, and like we just push each other. You know, I think they appreciate that. Obviously, we've come from the Brookes system where you just work hard, and they've learned from that. But we've learned from their like Leander side a bit more, where it's like, okay, you've got to do it sensibly, and you've got to row well. And I think it's been a really good mix of just ripping the shit out of it and like trying to do it too nicely. You know, we found a really good balance.
That's a good way to put it.
You can get so technical in your head, and all of a sudden you forgot to pull.
Yeah.
Or you can pulling the rigger off.
Hang on, I have no idea what you're doing. It's going backwards. Yeah,
What's really funny is like actually watching that from the outside, because like, you know, it's not even 10 years ago that Brookes won the Temple. Like it was 2014, 2024 is next year. And then, okay, winning the ladies, winning the Grand, now, okay, elevating to an international level. Now you've got an entire Brookes 4, and then you're beating Olympic champions.
Yeah,
like that's pretty nuts. Exactly.
Yeah. It's cool for everyone.
For sure.
It's cool for the country. Well, not for the Australians.
Well, it depends which country you're from, I suppose.
So what's Brookes gonna do next?
I don't know. Well, it's Olympic year again, so I would be surprised if they don't aim for the open events. I honestly don't know. Obviously, I've been out of the system for 2-3 years now, so I'm just going off what I think Henry would do and the speculation. I think he's obviously still going to aim for the Temple. I think that's still a big thing for him. 7
wins again there.
So I don't know, that'll be hard because obviously we don't have the senior guys there picking it up. I imagine they'll do very well. Again, the team is looking very strong from stuff I've seen on like the group chats and the various videos I've seen of them at training camp, and they look very strong again.
Yeah,
they'll be tough. What would be very interesting to see, if I have to guess, I think they will. I have a feeling it might be a Brookes Leander battle in like either the ladies or in the Grand, and I think that's going to be a very interesting race.
Maybe even like a double battle in both Grand and the ladies.
Quite possibly,
because it's international. Yeah. Well, I'm basically it's funny because like obviously now that the team is filled more and more with Brookes athletes, so do you think we'll ever get to the point where it's just Brookes?
I don't think so. I mean, it'd be fun if it was.
Yeah, that's the thing. Are you all gonna like turn up in your magenta all in one?
So I think at the moment...
No, not magenta, maroon.
Maroon, obviously.
Sorry. What are they talking about?
I think we've got, at the moment, I think it's near enough a 50-50 split at the moment between Brookes registered athletes and Leander athletes. I think it comes in like waves. So, for example, in 2020, when there was that cohort of Freddie, Dave, Tom Digby, Lenny, as I spoke about earlier, they all decided to come to Brookes because... for them at the time, that was the best place to go. And that's because that's where a lot of us were. And that's where we were starting to push through. And at the time, Leander were obviously still very strong, but they only had maybe 2 or 3 people on that sort of like senior trajectory program, whereas Brookes had 4, 5, 6. So at the time, it was the place to then to go. For example, this year, obviously in Olympic year, you always get the people from America taking a year out or who have just finished, and they come and they basically, the decision for them is going to be Brookes or Leander. So it happened in 2020, the decision was Brookes. This year, the decision has gone to Leander, and there's a big cohort at Leander. That's why I think, as I said, it would be very interesting to see them race off at Henley, because you've got a very strong development system now at Leander. And obviously, you've still got the Brookes guys who are not quite in the position we were at 4 years ago, where it's like we're the next people in. Mm-hmm. But they're still at that position where they're moving an 8 incredibly fast. And it's
great. Like, it's going to push the standard on.
Oh, for sure.
For both clubs, like everyone gets faster. It's really great to have that.
It's exciting. Like it's not going to be one-sided, and like actually racing is going to be fun to watch because you don't know who's going to win.
No, I think the watching those two throughout the season is going to be really good for like for a neutral point of view. It's going to be really high-level racing because obviously you've got Brookes on one side who are, you know, the dominant force at the moment in UK university rowing, and
I would say world, probably.
Definitely up there for sure, and they know how to move eights. That's what it's aimed for, and there's very strong athletes. Like there are world champions in that under 23 world champions in that Brookes setup from this under 23's just gone in the 8 and then comes this 4. So they are very strong. But then you've got the Leander guys who in their own right are the sort of the trialist group who are realistically the next people into the team after this cycle. And you in that group you've got multiple IRA winners, multiple world champions. So how well are they going to gel together to do the crew stuff mixed between how well are the Brookes slightly underpowered in terms of like, you know, on paper.
Yeah, I just feel sorry for some of those guys like Miles Beeson who's won 3 under 23 gold medals, and it's like there's no space in the team. Like, dude, you should be up there, but like where?
Depth. I mean, I think that's really encouraging for British rowing in the next 4 to 8 years. Is the teams that are coming through at the moment are just so strong.
Yeah,
obviously, at the moment the cohort we've got, like, so we're just coming up to December. And we're about to do seat racing for the Olympics now. And so we've got a December trial on the 16th and 17th, and then we seat racing. And they kind of want to set the crews, or at least have a good idea of the crews by the new year. And at the moment, on each side, we're running with about 12 athletes. Of those 12 athletes, 10 of them are world champions.
Wow.
So it's basically, you've got a whole team and extras of people that are world champions.
So there'll be world champions that won't go to the Olympics.
Yeah. Most likely, yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's nuts. So like, you've got, because of the last 2 years we've had such a spread of world champions, and we've won so much that, it's going to be a battle. And someone on stroke side is a bit more clear cut, but obviously still very open. But on bow side, you're going to have a world champion miss out and go to the Olympics. Like, not even going to be a spare.
Wow.
So it's going to be. Yeah, the level we've got is incredibly good, and for a position for British rowing is great. And to have, as you say, the likes of like Miles and like Dower and Ewan Hadfield and all the people who are coming up who are multiple under 23 world champions, they're going to step in, and obviously they'll take that first year to adjust and get used to the program and centralised training. But all of a sudden, it's not like we're suddenly going to, even if I don't know who's going to carry on post Tokyo, like there are rumblings between who's going to stay, who's not. Like 1 minute you're going to stay, 1 minute you're going to leave. Post Paris, sorry.
You don't know
you don't know until it's done. You know, anything can happen. But let's say if what happened after Rio happened, and there's a mass exodus of the team, and they have to start anew. Just starting anew with multiple under 23 world champions, like, you know, that's a very good place to start.
Exactly. You know? So then my question is, like, obviously with LA Olympics switching the course to 1500 meters, like with having that many world champions and like incredible athletes per seat, like what's going to happen then, really? Like, where's the space? And also, like, it's 1500, like, do you anticipate the training getting like any different? Like, obviously for the Brookes lot, it's amazing.
It's good. For all the Brookes lot, it's fine. It's perfect, bread and butter. But I don't see the training changing much, because all of the other FISA events are over 2,000 meters. So even the qualification regattas are over 2,000 meters.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the only difference is that one race in August in 2028. That's all it is. So
interesting.
What I can see happening is I can see some nations, like, for example, the Dutch, focusing on 1,500 meter racing.
Being in
the lead of 1,500 and then kind of falling off and being like, that's fine. And I can see some nations
taking advantage of that.
Of that and being like, we're going to qualify as much as we can because we're going to keep training for 2K and we're going to get as many boats qualified as possible and become world champions and win all that. But then they might fall over because they've been like, we've been winning these 2,000 meter races by length easily, but we've been 3 lengths down at 1,500.
I don't necessarily think like physiologically, you would like the perfect athlete for 1,500 and 2K is not that different. It's more just how you race it.
Very true. It's not overly different. Yeah, I think it's not overly different. It's not that as if it was like a 500. Then you'd have to get someone completely different.
Yeah, guys who are like deadlifting.
For sure. The big man.
Hey, Tom Digby's.
Yeah. Get Adam Neal back.
Shout out. Yeah.
But you need, but you still do need that extra like go. You know, you've got to have someone that's going to get you out because the race is, 500 meters is a minute and a half, shorter. You have so much less time to come through. And it's going to be so much more ferocious. I think like you're going to see people going like above 40 quite comfortably, even in like the smaller boats, just to like get out, I think. So it will need a lot of training to get used to just getting out hard. But end of the day, that having that bulk endurance is still going to be very beneficial, especially if like, you know, you come to Olympic qualification and you've been prepping for 1500 and all of a sudden you can't hold on to it and you don't qualify, and then there's no point. So who knows?
I think, how long have we been going for? A while.
Shall we do some quick fires?
Let's do quick fires and get
I was
let
good.
this man go and get his dinner.
Oh, I know. No, I'm doing him a favor because then the dinner's made for him.
I think I won't be, but yeah, I'll still be in trouble.
Cool. So my question I usually ask is, out of like all the venues that you've raced at, trained at, or visited, what are some of your favorites and why? And why is it Wimbledon?
Wimbledon is lovely because it's in the middle of Devon, and it's Exmoor National Park. Gorgeous place. It's just training is hard. Favorite place to race, I think it's got to be Lucerne. I think it's just the surrounding is so nice, and the fact that you can like walk to and from the lake, and just Switzerland is just a lovely place. And everything is so serene and beautiful. A Viz has got to be up there with the training camps because it's like a 4 or 5 star hotel. You basically have exclusive use of it. It's so nice, and then you have the food is so good, and you have like basically like 26k worth of lake, which pretty much interrupted straight lines, and it's
3 direction.
Exactly, so many places.
And if the wind kicks up, you can
go somewhere else and hide. Yeah, for sure. Go down the Golden Route. So that's pretty good. Where else is really nice? Lake Bled in Slovenia is really nice. That's just again really picturesque. Not so nice to row on because it's quite open and it's quite crosswindy, but the surrounding is stunning. Yeah, I think those are probably my top 3.
That's good. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. Tom.
What I ask is, if you could travel back in time to the age you were when you first really fell in love with rowing, what advice would you give that kid?
Good question. I would say probably just keep with it. Like, it's going to get shit at points, but just keep going. Like, I think I may not be the only one, but as I was listening to your guys chat with John, and he said during lockdown, he suddenly found he stepped on loads. Great for him. I was in the complete opposite direction, and I'm sure I'm probably not alone, where I got through lockdown and I was like, this is my career, done. So I really struggled to train by myself. Probably why I never made it as a single sculler, but I can't train by myself. I need someone to push me. And I was like, this is my career, completely done. So I think I'll go back and say it's going to get tough. It's going to get hard. Just keep sticking with it, but like keep enjoying it. It will pay off eventually. Like everything happens for a reason. Just go with it, keep enjoying it, and just keep on keeping on.
Yeah, I like it. It's kind of love every season, not every day.
Exactly. Yeah. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be peaks and troughs throughout all the time. You know, you just enjoy the bits that go well and just keep bearing through the.
All right, that's it. Let's do that again. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
It's on, yeah.
Perfect. Keep on keeping on.
I like it.
I can smash stuff up. That's probably not good. But
yeah, it's fine. That's good. Yeah, that's awesome, man. It's everyone wants
quick fix.
Yeah, but it's not, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's simple things, and you're not the first person to have said that. It just sometimes takes a bit longer than you think.
Yeah. Just keep knocking on the door.
You got one more?
Yeah. If you were to repeat one race over or regatta when you're 60 or 70, what would it be and why?
I think so far
it can either be like one for the enjoyment of it again, or one because you were happy with it.
Because I was happy. I think for me, I'll have to pick the. Can I pick 2?
Yeah. Cool. You can pick as many as.
The first one I'd do again is it's singles at Nat Champs in 2012 when I won J16 single sculls, because that was my first like major thing I won.
Yeah.
And I remember that being like so much fun because it was like I was a junior and I had my first go at like.
And you didn't know you were going to win.
I didn't know I was going to win. Yeah. I was just like, I just did the semi. And I was like, oh, the guy that's meant to win this just got crashed out. I was like, oh, this is completely open now. This is going to be great. And the second one I'd do again is the semi-final at the Varese World Cup from this year. Because everything just seemed to click. Like, you know, you talk about going into like flow state where everything just is natural. And then that was just one of those races where from like start to finish, everything was just almost perfect. You know, just like we picked it up so well. The boat just travelled. Everything went according to plan. So yeah, that would be the one I'd want to do again. It was nice.
That's brilliant. I've just got one last one. Sorry. Okay. Out of like all the people that you've rowed with, or looked up to, who are some of your idols?
I think my idols in rowing, I never got to row with them. Definitely would have to be Trix Hodge and Alex Gregory, just because of like, as I was growing up, they were my big names. Also, I grew up with in the early part of like, you know, Steve Redgrave and Pinsent and Cracknell, and they were great. But that was when I was still kind of like young to rowing. But like the Gregory and Hodgie were like, those are my two standouts of like, these guys are incredible and just so good at it. And I think I think one of the best people I've rowed with in terms of experience is actually like Alex Partridge. I think because like when he brought in his like old men to have a fun little go, so him, Lucas Spick, Rick Eggington, and Dave Gillard, they came to Brookes for a bit, and like just having that level of experience from like, you know, multiple Olympic games and Olympic medalists and world champions, like that was the first time I actually had anyone who'd done anything proper to row with, and like they were basically just kids, and like, you know, they were just kids in grown men's bodies. They loved being back with the students. I think just being in that lifestyle again. And yeah, they actually gave so much like good advice, like how to move small boats better than just moving an 8. You know, like they gave so much more experience of racing and being what it's like at the top level. And I think those guys were like really quite good in helping us see what it's like. Yeah,
Alex is gonna love that answer. We're having him on in 2 weeks' time after you.
So I've been speaking to Alex as well. We're gonna Gregory. We're gonna get him on.
Oh, nice.
At some point, but he lives miles away.
Yeah, he does a Cotswolds, doesn't he? Roughly.
No, he's down your way now.
Oh, is he?
Down Devon way. Actually, yeah.
Miles away. Yeah.
Well, at some point, hopefully, Hodgie as well. Cool. No, Matt, this has been absolutely fantastic. It's been nice to meet you. It's been great to find out about your rowing story, about ups and downs and what you've learned. I think you've dropped some absolute brilliant bits of advice for people like of all levels. It's also like really humbling to see the attitude of like a proper fully fledged champion. It's like it's incredible that we also like get to like hear it firsthand, and like no, I'm just really looking forward to what you guys are gonna do next year. Obviously at the Olympic race. So best of. I didn't want to touch on it too much.
Yeah, no, I don't want to touch on it because I don't even know if I'm going yet.
Well, this is the thing. Best of luck, for trials, and at some point we'd love to have you on again.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's been awesome, man. Thanks for coming along. It was a really nice long chat.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It was good fun.
No, definitely. And best of luck for the future. We won't talk too much about it, but really nice to hear your journey. Definitely nice to hear you explain some things in ways that maybe other people haven't. And like sometimes, you know, for people listening, it could be the way that clicks for them.
Exactly. You can have a coach say the same thing over and over again. It's just having a different voice say the same thing suddenly resonates so much better. So if anyone takes anything from it, then that's great. If not, I've chatted about rowing for a couple of hours. It's quite fun. So
they definitely will. And I think this is going to be it's going to do wow this episode. So
fingers crossed.
What a way to round the 40. Yeah, that's it. Awesome. So on that note, easy there.
Cue the music.